welcome to the Beetle and Grimm's Pandemonium Warehouse Shopping Network. Shipping Goblin Bob here is going to tell you all about our new Platinum Edition. It's my favorite.
Thanks, George. Friends, are you tired of putting a cat, a flask of poison, and a source of radiation into a sealed box and having to settle for a cat that's dead or alive? Well, Beetle and Grimm's Pandemonium Warehouse has the product for you. Introducing the Schrodinger's Cat Platinum Edition. With the Schrodinger's Platinum Box, you can have both versions of your pet at the same time. Free yourself from objective collapse and enjoy a cat that simultaneously exists in two decoherent realities. It's time for atomic indeterminacy to enter the macroscopic domain. It's time for Schrodinger's Cat Platinum Edition.
Yeah. She's totally dead. But totally alive.
Only from Beetle and Grimm's Pandemonium Warehouse. Simultaneously available and sold out now.
In a world wrought with demons, going to hell is the only way to get redemption. 5 adventures, 1 mission. This spring, join us as we descend into Avernus, the first layer of hell. Action, fire, brimstone. If you make a deal with the devil, you better be prepared to dance. Band of Badgers, Descent into Avernus, coming this May.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back once again to the mythic north of Sweden. We'll be getting into that vibe shortly, but for now, hi, welcome to Band of Badgers? What's a bladger? Hi, welcome to Band of Badgers. My name is Elle. I will be your host today as we run through our story, King Hunt, a VAESEN game. Ooh, we are on to our third mystery of our little narrative here. We are on to a wicked secret. Very excited for this one. It actually has my favorite VAESEN in the entire game in it, so I'm extremely excited to run through everyone. But I won't be doing this by myself because that would be silly. I have with me today my wonderful, wonderful players and a special guest. I will go through each and every single one of them one by one. Please let us and the wonderful chat know your name, your pronouns, and where we can find you on the internet. We will start today with Stacey.
Hi, I'm Ree. You can find me as Romeo Indigo Echo, recreated, redot created, and various other forms of that almost everywhere. And I prefer she and her.
Okay, cool. Jerris.
Hello,
Hi.
I'm Jerris. Pronouns are he, him. You can find me on Twitter. I have a Twitter now. I vaguely post. I'm quite bad at it, but I would appreciate the follows. Hi, this is me. Next. Also, I'm playing Alexander Kruger.
So you are. T, how are you doing?
Hey there, I'm doing excellently. I have a giant mug of tea, and that is not a pun. Fuck. I'm doing fine. Pronouns he, him, usually, as far as I'm aware anyway. Dr. Anki is my name and game in-game, and I can't wait to get into today's madness, folks.
Cool. And Joe.
Hi, my name's Joe, and I am playing Father Pavel. I am on pretty much everything as I'm a good demon honest. So thank you.
Fab. And we also have with us our wonderful special guest today. We have Jamie Lawrence with us from Level Up Dice. Hi there, Jamie.
Hi, how you going? My name is Jamie, he, him. I am the production manager at Level Up Dice, so I get to make cool stuff all the time, like this, and like this, and like more things that you'll probably see during the show. Out of crystal and stone and bone and wood and metal and all the funky things that we get to put into our dice. And I am playing Thurston Rook, who is going to be a character in this game. You can find me on the internet, mostly on Twitter. I am at Grum.
Fabulous. Thank you, Jamie. And once again, I'm Elle, he, him. You can find me at Good and Chaotic, various places all around the internet. I'm very, very predictable. Just go and hunt me down if you have a need to. As always, special thanks to our supporters, especially Beadle and Grims and the wonderful Free League, the publisher behind VAESEN and the great minds behind all this nonsense that I'm going to be running through my players with today. Super excited. It's going to be great. Thank you guys for your support. We will also be giving, thanks to wonderful Free League, a copy of the VAESEN Core Rulebook, a PDF of it away at the break. When we talk to our wonderful Jamie here about Level Up Dice and what they do and how they roll and all that shenanigans. So stick around for that. It's going to be a time. Before we begin today, I do need to remind you all that VAESEN is a horror game. There may be elements of spook, there may be elements of grimdark, there may be elements that aren't particularly nice. When those times come up, I will flash these lights red if they deign to work. And when that happens, please use that as your cue to go and run away and take a cup of tea or take 5 and come back when the lights are green again and you'll be all golden. I have no need to make anyone OC uncomfortable. That would be sad. I'm just here to traumatize my characters. Cool. I think that is about it. So without further ado, everyone, who is ready to play a game of VAESEN?
Yes.
We're never ready. Don't. Yeah.
No, but yes, cool. I can work with that. So, as we draw back into our narrative today, to the story of King Hunt, we find ourselves once again in Uppsala. With the winter of October in full force, we find our Thursday's children at Castle Gillencruz, warding off the cold with fires belching smoke up into the sky from the castle's many chimneys, more than a few of which don't necessarily line up to the correct fireplace. Sophia has been sadder than usual lately and is seeming a mite twitchier than normal. She insists that it just is that she misses Esther, but some of the exhaustion you recognize from how she was when you met her at the Witch Cat is beginning to creep back in. It's been about 2 weeks since your excursion to the archipelago and your encounter with the Herring Baron, and during this time, Finch, your steward, has been around less and less. Although he attends to his duties with the same rigor and jovial attitude, he seems busier than normal. On this day, with the mists hanging low and the river Fyrus rushing in a raging, swollen tirade to its destination, we start our story on the road to Castle Gillencruz, where a stranger makes his way up the road towards the residence, accompanied by a small, excitable child with a grubby face, clad in ragged clothing. Jamie, could you please describe your character for us?
Sure. Thurston is a very tall and bulky individual, but wearing a very fine-looking coat and with an overcoat and a tweed hat. He's very fair of hair and has a very distant look to his eyes.
Thurston, you've been in Uppsala for a couple days now. Ever since you received a communique from Detective Knight assuring you that there would be work to do very soon. When the knock sounded at your door this morning to reveal a small boy who skips along at your side right now, you knew it was time. You know this child to be the town's courier, Dean, who Knight often pays to carry messages for him, and he chatters excitedly as you make your way up towards the imposing structure up ahead. So, yeah, I've got a letter for you, but it's not just for you, yeah, because it's also for this lot up at the castle, so I've got to give it to all of you all at the same time. So, yeah, I've got to say, though, these people are kind of weird. My mum says they keep werewolves in the basement, so.
That is not the strangest thing I've ever heard.
What's the strangest thing?
Probably the rest of this conversation.
Whoa, that's crazy because we're doing that right now. That's insane. I'll tell you what though, apparently they also talk to ghosts, which is like, well, weird because I don't even talk to ghosts because I know that they're scary. I'm smart. Anyway, this way. And he sort of like grabs your hand and leads you up to the castle doors.
Yeah, let's go. I'm pumped.
As you guys reach the castle door, Dean raps on the front doors with a small fist. You guys inside, you do hear a knock on the door, and you hear Albert Frisk, your steward, open it. Thurston, you see before you a sort of bushy, bearded gentleman, quite stoutly built, dressed in practical clothing, clearly some sort of waitstaff here at the castle. And he sort of takes you both in and says, young Master Dean. And who might you be, good sir?
My name is Thurston Rook. I am here to get a message, apparently.
Oh, well, do come in. Masters and mistresses and those betwixt, one young Master Dean and Master Thurston here to see you all. And he does very much usher you all inside to a plush lounge area with high-backed chairs and a table laden with fresh baked goods. There's tea and coffee as you're all sat down, and you await your hosts. Dean, as you all sit down, immediately begins chowing down on the biggest pastry available, just getting it everywhere.
Are the pastries on a coffee table?
Yeah.
Can I please grab Dean's ankles from under the coffee table where I've been slyly taking snacks and eating them under the coffee table?
Yeah, of course you can. Thurston, you see two hands dart out from under the coffee table and grab this small courier boy. Dean screams, drops the pastry, and then immediately grabs the pastry and lobs it at the person under the table. Ingrid, you are assaulted by a half-eaten, very slobbery pastry.
It's fine, I'm eating that pastry.
Does everybody know that there is a person under the table?
Yeah.
I do now.
At this point,
I feel that's the thing I should have been told.
It's a thing, yes.
Ingrid's going to crawl out from under the table and sort of do her usual can't sit in a chair sit. Which is all knees up to the chin and feet on the arms kind of thing.
Yeah,
We
Dean
have
just sort
tried
of-
to get her out of the table, however, she seems to think that it draws power or something.
No, it's just easier to get snacks.
Oh, that's what you call power these days, okay.
At this point, Kruger will come downstairs, drying his hair.
Fair. Dean sort of stands up as you all conglomerate, sort of brushing himself off. So, that is rude, but you're weird and cool, so I'll allow it. Anyway, yeah, so I've gathered you all here today because I have been given a letter by the dude who looks tired all the time with the spiky hair, and he said to give it to you, and he points at Thurston, and also all of you, so I'm doing that now. And
Hold on.
Yeah, what?
And I walk over to, I'm assuming, a drinks club. Just pour myself a large drink. Just go, ready.
Cool. And he sort of unfurls.
Sorry, accident went there. Ready.
Yeah, that's just sort out in character. Yeah,
Everything
Dean,
is fine.
for sure. Dean unravels this sort of piece of parchment paper. It's sort of a very fine, heavy parchment, very, very well written, sort of very thick, dark ink that denotes it was sent from a person of means. And he begins to read, and he says, "To whom it may concern, I urgently request your assistance. My name is August von Meyer." That's a weird name. I'm a forest owner and industrialist. One of the largest sawmills in northern Sweden are mine, located here in Härnösand, where I'm working to modernize this region. To this end, I am procuring heavily forested tracts of land and employing large parts of the local population in said areas. Some time ago, two of my employees, Mr. Gottfried Hammerstrom and his assistant, Niles Lindskold, were sent to a small village in Farnstad, north of Härnösand. It is located deep in the woods, and the land was said to be highly fertile and abundant with forests. Hammerstrom was therefore responsible for ensuring a transaction between the villagers and yours truly, but now, alas, tragedy has struck. One night, Niels returned on horseback, wearing nothing but his nightshirt. Naughty. He was in a frantic state, rambling about some evil beast beheld in the village. Niels has not been seen since. Niels has not been the same since and can barely speak. That's not good. Hammerstrom is missing, and I fear what may have befallen poor Gottfried. I sense that something is amiss. There is more to this place than meets the eye. That's why I'm writing to you. I would like to enlist your services in uncovering the truth about what has happened to Hammerstrom and stopping the beast mentioned by Mr. Lindskold. Whatever, at any cost. Yourselves being the denizens of Castle Gillicroots and Thurston here, whom an old friend of mine, Detective Knight, recommended, please reply with the most haste, for time is of the essence. I shall wait for you in Hardestan to explain more and arrange your trip to Farnstar. Sincerely, August von Meyer. P.S. I have included reimbursements for your travel to and from Farnstar, including money for stagecoaches and train tickets. First class, of course. Get you. Just folds up the letter, like thrusts it into Thurston's hands, is like, well, that's it then.
Thank you. That was very well read.
You're welcome. I'm really smart.
What do you mean? I thought that
Yes.
Yeah.
I put a coin in the lad's hand.
Thank you. You're
Along
the.
with a different serving of pastry.
You sure? Oh, I don't care. I'm taking it anyway. Anyway, bye. And he sort of turns on his heel and sprints out the door.
I think it is one of the ones that Ingrid pre-licked.
Good.
I've pre-licked all of them. Also,
That
There is
why I
nothing
thought-
better than a toddler handing you a wet piece of food.
also,
Father
why
Pavel
would
puts
you
down his
lie to
pastry.
him? He couldn't say half of those names. Neither could I, but I wouldn't expect you to lie. No, I won't trust you when you tell me if my hair looks nice. Ingrid's hair, by the way, is like a complete matted bush that's never seen a brush in its entire life and probably has something living in it.
It may have seen a thrush.
That is a charming hairstyle.
See? Lies.
And, apologies, but to whom do we owe the pleasure? We have credentials by mutual acquaintance, but, would you like to introduce yourself, mister?
Yeah, I guess that would be appropriate at this time. My name is Thurston Rook, and as you heard, I am an associate of Detective Knight. As to why me in particular, I don't know. I guess maybe the job calls for big strongness. That is the thing I do.
Looks you
What
up
about
and
the
down,
rest of you?
mostly up. Yes. Dr. Anki Kirisaka, or Anki for short, Salo. If you find yourself missing any particular smaller digits, find something out of place, or indeed something protruding from and through yourself, it is to me that you shall turn.
No digits
Oh, I can
missing.
see that they are there.
Yeah, they're all accounted for.
Father Pavel, if you find anything missing from your soul, then it would be myself that you'd speak to.
And if you want a more sensible opinion, it would be me you'd speak to.
And she
All
is
right.
Ingrid.
Do you just provide sensible opinions? That is good service.
Well, I could tell you how you're going to die.
I would rather not.
Spoilers.
Ingrid pouts and folds her arm on the chair she's not really sitting in.
Probably either screaming and or in silence.
You all
Possibly
know
both.
at this point that you have some time before you must board the first train on your voyage to the tiny forest village, but first of all to the slightly larger industrial town of Harnessand. You've all heard of it. It's not the backwateriest of backwaters, but it's certainly not really somewhere you go on vacation. It's a working town. But you do know that you've got a good couple of hours before you need to catch your train to get there. So, before we begin our voyage today, let us address the issue of advantage. You, in this wonderful system of VAESEN, have the opportunity to go out and about in Uppsala or around the town in this couple of hour window that you have spare to do research or preparations in order to get a jump on the things you might face in the upcoming mystery, depending on what you feel like might be relevant or come up. And depending on the scenes that you do in this advantage stage, you can get a significant boost to your rolls. So let's have a look-see around. What would you like to do to prepare for your trip?
Oh, hey,
On the
caramba.
description, I think we will need spare shirts.
Well, we are going north, and we are going to a place that was so droll it was named after a sneezing duck. Yes. Well, we know very little about the thing other than things that have been occurring in the letter. From previous experience, we should guard ourselves against harm to the body and soul, as well as to see if there is anything in particular in the area that warrants our attention as specialists in things that are special. Now, if you don't mind me, I think I will be making my way to the university library.
Mhm.
Somebody must have kept Esther's card, right? Looks at Ingrid.
You actually, as you're saying this, a young woman walks along in the background, sort of a small girl, about 16-ish. She walks over to you, Dr. Anki, and sort of flirts around her pockets for a minute and hands over a small sort of card. Says, actually, Esther left it with me when she left.
Ah. That was probably the most sensible thing to do.
Yeah.
Thank you for holding on to it, Sophia.
Welcome. She does sort of turn to you, Thurston, and sort of wave a little bit. Sort of very, very mousy looking child. Looks a bit young for her age, honestly, and she looks very nervous as she beholds you and sort of backs back into the shadows.
She will not leave without a cup of hot beverage in her hand and a pastry in the other. Anki wills this.
Yeah, that having been insisted, she does oblige. So we have a troop heading to Uppsala University. That is all well and good. Is there anywhere the rest of you would like to go, or would you all like to embark on this venture to the library?
I'm going to go down into the occult library that we found last session and have a look in there to see if I can find anything about, creatures in that area that live in the woods or anything along those lines.
Okay, heading to the archive for creature research.
Mm-hmm.
I will accompany Dr. Salo if that is okay.
Of course. Uni library.
Just in case
That
there
is
are any
acceptable.
heavy tomes on the high shelves.
There are. Okay, so who's headed to the archive with Father Pavel?
I'll go.
Father Pavel and Alexander?
Yeah.
All right.
Is there any opportunity to do research when we get to the location? I assume there will be.
There will be, yes.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, I'll go with Pavel. If in the occurring times of downtime, I've been let in on the fact that we have an occult library.
Oh yeah, it's not subtle. It is not subtle. They often leave it open as well.
Sweet.
Yeah.
I will be pouring through any tomes for VAESEN that steal clothes or items from people.
Okay.
And maybe leave them confused.
All right. And Ingrid, where are you headed, my dear?
I am going to go clothes shopping.
Okay.
Why does this worry me so much?
What does that tracks?
All right.
Spending 5 minutes with Ingrid leaves you confused, let alone going to this VAESEN.
You've left me alone again. Why do you do this?
This always seems to happen, and every time it results in madness, and I'm so
What am I going to do? Babysit you?
Right,
That should
so
officially be your job, Merc.
So we will start out with our trip to the archive and library. Father Pavel and Alexander, you both make your way upstairs to the first floor of your castle here, sort of the non-Euclidean space that exists within Castle Gillenkreutz. You make your way into the large library with the wonderful globe at the back. Make your way over to that particular bookshelf, pull down the lever that reveals the secret library, and readjust the book on the plinth that unveils the occult archive beneath the flooring. Once you are there, you of course have the run of the place to pour through the various tomes and things. So could both of you please make me a logic and learning roll, and we will see what you find out.
Love this
walk
in
as I
chat.
walk in.
Father Pavel looking through the thing for blasphemy.
Yeah.
As I walk in, I assume I get like a chill of murder, and I go, "These books are rotten."
Yeah, for sure. You sort of look around, especially at some of the archives, more X-thing items. Sort of, there are the things that are very dead, partially alive, and a little bit in between the two. And from those items, you feel the most resentment as you walk into this place.
This book, it says Necronomicon Esque Mortis. I'm drawing the line in the sand here. Don't read the fucking Latin.
Don't do that to me when I'm drinking, dude. It's not good to me.
Do not read the Latin.
Jesus.
I straight paveled it.
Yeah, same here.
Oh, no. Great Pavel. Oh, dear.
Off to a good
Right,
start.
paveled.
Okie dokie. God, I hate to have to say this already, but would you like to push your luck in order to take a condition and try a reroll?
Here's the thing. I don't know what that means.
Okay, so in pushing your luck in this system, essentially you take a condition of a relevant kind as a consequence, and but you do get to reroll all your failed dice. So you essentially get a straight up reroll in exchange for pushing your character a little bit towards broken.
Pavel can fix me.
It's a devil's bargain, but it's an interesting one.
Yeah, beans to it. Yeah, well.
All right, make
Come
me
on.
your reroll.
Did you fail again?
Double Pavel. Oh dear.
Shall I do the same as well?
3
then?
dice. Absolute bollocks.
Okay. Alexander, you walk into this place, and as you descend, you feel in the back of your mind, you feel something watching you, and you're not sure from the direction where it's coming. You whirl around trying to figure out what it is that's watching you, what eyes are boring into the back of your head, and you see nothing. But the second you turn, they're there again at the back of your head, and you frown and you get ready to lash out at whatever's there, and you turn again and still nothing. And yet you still feel them right at the back of your head, and then you feel it. A cold, icy breath, like fingers down your spine, and that is far too much for you. You take your little feet and you beat the hell out of there. You take the frightened condition as you flee the occult library and the artifact storage, terrified.
So rotten.
Father Pavel, did you get any successes at all?
No.
Bloody hell. Father Pavel, you, oh Lord, you also are going to start feeling this horrible sensation of being watched, but it's directionless and foreboding. And every way you turn, it is behind you. But this time, when you feel that breath, there is an accompanying whisper, and it just says, "Charlatan." And as you hear this, you run for the exit, and you will going to take the frightened condition, please, for me, as you do so.
Cool.
Somewhere Ingrid's found something very funny, but doesn't know why.
Just
My
have interest.
therapist.
How many dice did you roll?
Me?
How many dice did you roll?
3.
Oh, yeah, I rolled 6.
Oh. Oh, that is
I'm not a smart man, I'm a shooty man.
yeah, you both sort of re-emerge from the library and sort of collapse against the side of the wall, catching your breath, and sort of both look at each other and like trying not to think about what just happened.
Like, what the
Yeah. Okay, we will switch scene whilst the two of you collect yourselves somewhat, shall we? So the university library. We have one Dr. Anki and one Thurston Rook. You make your way across Uppsala, away from Castle Gullenkreutz, past the River Firis, past the growing trees of this dirt path and into the city proper, and you find your way eventually to the sprawling campus of Uppsala University. As you are let inside, sort of a side exit, you see a small man hunched over a bone-beaked cane, sort of whiskers and wisp of dark hair, and he's sort of like trundling along, looks up at you, he's like, "Oh, back again, are we? Excellent to see young people doing their reading and getting involved in the... Is Esther not with you today?"
As of today, she is not, no. She has taken a leave of absence until further notice.
Oh dear, well, do you still have her card?
Yes,
Oh, very good. In that case, you
I
may
have been
come in
entrusted with it.
as per the normal. And trust that you will have the same academic rigor as your friend, yourself, and your associate here. What would you be after today in terms of tomes, good sir?
I would be rather interested in finding anything of historical note on the northern town of Härnösand.
I see. Harness sound. Fantastic, fantastic. Well, I could certainly do that for you. Come right this way. And he does sort of trundle his way along to the geographical section as both of you follow. You sort of have to try and restrain yourself from stepping on his ankles, Thurston. You're far taller than he is, and he's very slow. Eventually, you do find your way to the bookshelves, though, and he does sort of say, "Well, go at it. Let me know if you need anything."
These aisles are surprisingly small.
Quite right. We've had to fit in a lot of knowledge in a relatively small space, especially since the public cannot see what lies beneath.
Just like a brain.
Exactly. A brain with a lot of
Depends on the bone, so.
Quite right, good doctor, quite right. Well, let me know if you should require assistance. And he just sort of turn on his heel and head away from you. Dr. Anki and Thurston, could you please make me also some logic and learning rolls to see what you can figure out?
Thy will be done, O Master of Dice.
Logic and learning.
Yeah.
Pavel!
Oh no.
That's for jinxing me.
To be perfectly honest with you there, I only said that when I saw your face after you'd made the roll. I hadn't checked the roll, but I saw you in your face.
Got a 6.
Okay, a success. Fantastic.
Oh,
That
it
is
was
enough.
on the tall shelf.
Great.
Yeah,
Dr. Anki,
right.
would you like to push your luck at all to get it? Or would you like to coast on Thurston's tail feathers here a little bit?
I will coast on Dr. Svole instead.
Okay, coast on Dr. Swole, fantastic.
Yeah.
So, addressing the dear Dr. Swole here, Dr. Anki, you are looking at all the wrong places, unfortunately. This is a industrial town in Sweden, and there is not much of note about it, to be totally honest. It's certainly not very enthralling. Thurston, your sort of eyes are wandering. This is not really your place, but you do sort of scan the stacks, and your eyes land on a particular tome that talks of sort of the logging industry in Sweden. You're like, aha! And you pass it over to Dr. Anki, feeling quite proud of yourself.
Very well done, my altitudinally blessed friend.
Thank you. I am usually quite good at things with books.
Yes, I can see that.
I love that.
Not good with words, but things with books.
Big heavy ones, specifically, for sure.
It is a saving grace on my shoulders.
You find out that the logging industry is a particularly big, booming sector, especially in that area. Sweden, as a nation, as it has been industrializing, has obviously been mechanizing and steam powering a lot more of its industries. And the logging industry has been absolutely no different. You find out that August von Meyer is the tycoon that runs that little area of land. He basically runs Harnessand now. He is not the mayor, but he may as well be because he owns most of the buildings in the surrounding forests. He's a rich logging industry tycoon, slowly cornering the market in the north, and he is pushing to get far more of Angermanland forests than he currently has. The logging industry is one of Sweden's leading industry at the moment, specifically because the mills are becoming steam-powered, but August himself has cemented himself as a man of good repute in the community because he hires all his workers from the local area, so there's sort of a lot of jobs going and everything else, so, you know, he's made himself pretty popular. As you're reading this, you do see sort of footnotes mentioning Farnstar, which is the place that you have been told is where the beast attacks took place, but they are a little more than footnotes. They are literally just a mention of a small backwater town in the middle of nowhere that no one can really get to and no one really wants to go to. And apart from that, not much else. The both of you, however, do gain from that an advantage. So for your next logic and learning roll, please remember or make a note that you have 2 additional dice to that pool.
I didn't quite catch that. Did you say logic or learning or logic and learning?
Logic and learning. So
Gotcha, thank
when
you.
those 2 attributes and skills align, you may add those 2 additional dice. Okay, and as you sort of come to a close with your study session, probably both feeling a little bit accomplished in that. Good job. So, Ingrid, we will switch scene to you as you wander around Uppsala about your merry way. Where would you like to go?
I am going to find clothes. So
Going to find clothes.
I only have a resources 2, which kind of makes me feel like I don't have a lot of money. So
Yeah.
I think I'm going to head to like a Goodwill or a charity shop of some sort. Just anywhere where there's like a I'm not fussed about what clothes I'm getting. I just realised that it's like October time, bordering on November time, and we're going north, and I'm not wearing shoes.
So are you asking, does Uppsala
You
have
are
a
wearing
countdown?
mushrooms.
Yeah, your shoes are mushrooms currently.
Shoes and mushrooms. I need
yeah.
actual shoes, or I will lose my feet and the mushrooms.
Pretty much.
Terrifying bog witch.
Absolutely. That is 100% what Ingrid is. You guys, Ingrid, you walk into the middle of Uppsala and you sort of try and find your way around this place. You know Uppsala well enough at this point to be able to find like a budget clothing store, but it's not really one you've been inside before. The facade is sort of very crumbly. It's not very well maintained. It's about 2 doors down from the gun shop that Anki visited last time. And as you walk in, you hear, "Oi!" As very clearly the young man who manned the shop is once again doing target practice. You walk in through the front doors of this place to see sort of stacks and stacks of unkempt clothing that's just sort of been thrown into piles that are vaguely sorted. There's like trousers in one corner, coats in another. There's like a fat spider making a nest in a shirt in the middle of the room. And a older woman with sort of a large mole on the side of their face sort of walks up from behind the desk, looks up at you, is like, "Yes?
I need feet.
What? Feet?
Feet.
We don't sell feet. Don't be ridiculous. Try the hospital."
No. Covers for my feet.
"Oh, you mean shoes?
Yes.
Great." And she sort of wanders over to a nearby pile, and with her walking stick, which is like a bone-handled oak thing, she gives it a shove, and the whole pile comes tumbling over to reveal like a pile of shoes at the bottom. She's like, "Well, look around, take a pick. If there's anything your size, let me know. If not, then, well, that's your lot." So
I start rummaging through the boots and the
Okay.
shoes. I'm looking for like wellies or just big wintry boots of some sort. That are gonna
yeah,
be,
sure.
if maybe just slightly too big so that my mushrooms don't get crushed.
Okay, so roll me your 2 resource points, please. We will see how well you do here.
Straight fouled it.
You find a pair of boots that have clearly seen better days. They are falling apart a little bit at the sole. There's clearly where the front part is coming off. You've got that lovely effect where the sole is coming away from the bottom of the shoe, and you've got like a weird tongue going on. As you sort of pick them up, you sort of give them a sniff, and there's like an odd scent of decay that's clinging to them. And Ingrid, you've been around the block enough to know what dead body smells like.
These are dead body feet.
These are dead body shoes.
Dead man's boots.
I found some dead body feet.
The old woman sort of walks by and gives you a knock with her cane and is like, "Couple coins. We don't do recounts or discounts or refunds."
Can I try and push my luck?
Yeah, go on then.
Okay, come on.
Who gave you
Something
allowance?
that's not dead people's shoes. I'm stuck with the dead people's shoes.
You're stuck with the dead. Oh dear. You, as a
So you should be able to talk to them.
you, sort of handling these boots, you get a deep sense of melancholy that sits heavily on your chest as you hold them, because you realize that whatever fate befell the individual who had these boots before you, it was not pleasant. And you peer at these shoes and you do realize that peppered on the leather is like ingrained blood spatter, and very clearly what is the residue of gunpowder on these shoes. And you will take the hopeless condition as you feel a deep grief set in for whatever fate befell the person before you.
I can verify where I've been a lot. Just want that stated.
For sure. It's like a museum, except it's everywhere.
Well,
that's one of mine.
One thing I do want to try and do is, I don't know quite what I might need to roll for it, but when I put the boots down, she's all been like two coins, whatever. That's all I've got. I'm gonna see if she'll throw in anything else, and try and persuade her to sweeten the deal since I'm getting rid of these dead people boots for her.
Make me an empathy manipulation check, please, my dear.
Hold on. Right.
Dead man socks.
Dead man socks.
Empathy, manipulation. Come on, don't let me down. I straight powered it, never mind.
Oh my god. Wow. Yeah, she stares at you and sort of folds her arms and says, "Are you having a laugh?"
No.
I thought not. Take the shoes and get out.
Fine. I'm gonna just take the smelly blood-covered shoes and I'm just gonna wander off back to the front.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
as
try
you
and clean them in a pond.
As you leave, you hear sort of a dull thud as something hits the wall next to the door that was clearly aimed at your head. The door swings shut behind you, and you make your way to a nearby pond to try and wash some of the blood off. Between all of this chaos occurring over the course of the next couple of hours, you, in various states of success, Anki and Thurston looking the most optimistic out of all of you, conglomerate once more, meeting at the Uppsala train station with your tickets in hand.
Yeah, and so the kids and the talking dog went their own way, but I still don't understand. They thought they were hunting the VAESEN, but it seems like they were traveling with the VAESEN, and you should have seen the way they eat. It was just unreal.
Yes.
You said talking dog and I thought you were on about Ingrid.
I will not lie, that was my first presumption as well. But he had recognized her as a person.
I would like to state that for however long Alexander's been with them, he's still not entirely sure that Ingrid isn't a VAESEN because of how much of a terrifying bog witch they are.
Yep.
He's just every now and again, you'll just catch him watching her the entire time, trying to figure out what's her deal.
Oh, trust me, Sergeant. She's not your type.
Alexander.
Well, firstly, I'm married, but fine.
Alexander. Please roll me empathy and observation.
There it is. Fuck is my empathy? Oh, good.
Do you have any empathy, sir?
I do.
Do you care for others? As a note, when Ingrid does get back to the house, she's going to attempt to find any way she can to make them stay together, make the flappy flap go back up, so that they're at least somewhat waterproof, though they are now currently waterlogged.
Right. Sure.
You could probably steal some of the sticky bits from the lead room.
You managed to like jam a few like of those IKEA like skinny nails into the sole.
Oh, no.
I hope it'll hold.
I hope so. It doesn't pierce my foot at some point.
We've got a singular success.
I see. Okay. On occasion, you're still not sure over whether your suspicions are correct or not. She does appear to be human, but on occasion, you do notice that there will be moments where she seems extremely distracted, almost as if someone were talking to her that you cannot see or hear. Okay. As you all sort of make your way to this train station with your various bits of knowledge in hand, sort of all bags packed and everything else, you do notice as the train begins to make its way into the station and you all board. Having gotten equipped with first-class tickets, this ride is far more comfortable than any other journeys you have taken so far since owning this castle. Thurston, even you, like, this is plush. The seats are very well maintained. There is a bar car at the back. There is sort of snacks available and things. The people are very well dressed. Ingrid, you're getting some weird looks. It's an uneventful, quite pleasant journey, all things considered. And you hop into a stagecoach on the other end on the next leg of your journey that will take you directly to Harnessand. The journey on the next train specifically takes a lot longer. It's about 15 hours straight. So the journey all told takes you about a day to get to this place. Is there anything that anyone would like to do whilst on the train?
There is one thing.
After you.
During the train ride, sometime along the way, presumably where Ingrid has gone off to forage, on a train. Dr. Anki will take the moment to approach Father Pavel for a quick talk.
Okay. We will address that shortly. First
Yes.
thing, what would you like to do?
So just something that everyone would notice is throughout the journey, anytime that bags need to be taken or put up, in carriage, in storage or anything, or constantly, if people need a drink or food or something, Thurston is like going and getting it and offering it to them and taking their bags and generally like being almost manservantish about it.
I like this man. Can we keep him?
Love it. He's a sweet man. Yeah, Dr. Anki, you do manage during the course of this sort of Thurston as he takes your bags and coat and sort of hangs them on a nearby rail, make sure everything's all very well maintained, make sure the carriage is clean. Yes. Ingrid and everyone else, you do watch as Dr. Anki pulls Father Pavel aside, possibly to another car or somewhere more private.
Yes, there's probably some entirely made up excuse.
Of course.
I need to consult him about spiritual matters.
Yes, certainly, my child.
So convincing. Well done, Dr. Anki. Everyone.
Oh no, did I accidentally convince Ingrid?
Who knows?
There are two things that have been on my mind for one, the several weeks, but two a more immediate concern, Father. To start with the more serious matter, I'm simply curious as to the state of your personage. You seem to disproportionately be, if we shall go by the letter of your book, punished for something in our last adventure. And I was just, simply put, I just wanted you to know that, not unlike people of your position, if there is anything you need to talk about, a doctor's discretion is maybe second to a priest's.
No, that's very good to know. Thank you. I'm sure I'll take you up on the offer in the future if need be.
That is good to have conveyed. Secondly, I believe we have to address something with Ingrid. And I believe that your reputation here is at stake.
Very well.
I saw her footwear.
Yes.
There needs to be consultation in the matter of their souls.
I agree. The smell is overbearing, one would say.
Dr. Ankley, could you please roll me empathy and inspiration?
Hey,
Doing my damn best, guys.
do I have to? Give me a
Could you
second.
do better?
I could bathe, but someone's always in it.
I have my own bathtub. How dare you?
He does. He has an ensuite.
That's the one I want to use.
Well, you don't get to.
Out of curiosity, Al,
Yeah.
can I ask for which thing this role is?
Yeah, so this is actually, because you are taking a scene aside with another player character, this actually counts as a kind of a heal role, right? You are in a safe place, you are having a chat with another PC, you are enacting a scene in which you are taking care of another character's mental health, and in that case, you can heal a mental condition.
Will the shoe
In that case,
puns
I'm
never
not going
end?
to. In that case, I'm very much not going to push my luck for my complete paddling of that situation.
Oh, okay. In that case, Father Pavel, please make me the same roll. I'm trying, man. I'm trying to throw you a bone here.
What was it?
Pavel,
Sorry,
if
go
you
ahead.
Pavel this, it means that it's going Pavel succeed, Pavel succeed, Pavel succeed.
It was empathy and
Inspiration. Theoretically, something you're good at.
Theoretically.
I'm excited.
I'm actually nervous for you. Like, this is ridiculous.
Praise the
One
Lord.
success.
Yay! Okay, that is enough.
Curse is broken.
You succeeded. So you heal one mental condition as you sort of come back to yourself a little bit and unshake your bones from what you saw in the occult archives. Sort of remind yourself that first and foremost, you are here to do a job, and that sort of behavior will simply not do from a man of your stature. For the others who have suffered conditions, you may also choose to try and regain that condition by taking a seat aside with your memento, if you would like, or with another player character.
Thurston.
I will do so. What I am going to do is I am going to put on my best regalia because this is a fancy train. We'll put on my fanciest regalia. I will go to the barcast and I will find out their caviar situation.
Okay. The caviar situation is very nice. It is sort of very fresh. There is very clear precedent for it. This train passing by a lot of coastal regions. So there is quite a lot of fresh fish on the menu.
Fantastic. I will have with crackers. And I will sit and look while I am having my food. I will sit with my little mirror and I will just look myself dead in the eyes and repeat numerous little mantras over and over and over and over again until I am no longer scared. And if anything, I am more focused.
All right. Empathy, inspiration, please.
Fantastic. Let's pretend I have anything in that. Oh, I don't. Fantastic. Empathy. Anti-Pavled. Double success.
Yay! Okay, that's more than enough. You managed to right yourself and come back to yourself once more, Alexander. Right, Dr. Anki, would you like to address your small niggle, or?
I have none.
Or are you okay? You're good. Who had the other condition? Ingrid! You thought you could escape. You can't. Hello.
Miss Ingrid,
Yes.
may I borrow your shoes for a moment?
I just bought them.
Interesting.
Why?
I was by profession I bottle, and I was
bottle?
thinking maybe I could. Yes, I am a butler. I bottle. I was thinking maybe I could take your shoes and do some repairs.
Okay. She takes the shoes off. She holds them really close, and then she just kind of slowly puts them out towards you. Like she's holding the little, like the top back part, so they're just like flopping. They almost like a bag of water. Just sort of.
Thank you.
They smell awful, Thurston.
What are you going to do?
It is all right. My nose is strong too. I will open my bag and take out a needle and thread and repair the shoes, and then I will take them to the washroom, and I will rub them with salt and give them a bit of a clean, and then I will bring them back, hopefully less awful than they were.
Okay.
I'm literally going to follow Thurston around throughout this entire process. I spent all of my money on those, so I'm literally like following you around, like salt, like pulling the weirdest faces is everything you do. Like, now he's washing them. Why is he dunking them in that water? That water doesn't even have any fish in it.
Please make me an empathy and inspiration roll, Thurston.
Empathy and inspiration.
Yeah.
Those shoes remind me of that one Malcolm in the Middle episode where he dunks the cowboy boots in water to get them to fit better. And like at the end of the 2 weeks when he's got them on, like he has to keep them on for that long. And he's just like, well, it looks like the bacteria is attacking the mushrooms, so that's good. Just like the whole feet is just a horrifying mess. He's just like, ugh.
I have bottled up a pair of sixes.
Yay! Brilliant. Ingrid, you take these shoes back once Thurston is done. And Thurston, you've done a magnificent job. Sort of the souls somehow are
Thank you.
once again in some semblance of order. The holes have been sewn back up. You've actually managed to find like a spare piece of leather from like what was maybe like a book binding at one point, and you've sort of sewn that on over a hole, sort of scraped off the blood, sanded it down a bit. You've even managed to like remold the leather a bit to what you assumed was Ingrid's foot size. So Ingrid, when you put them back on, they fit like a treat. Please remove your condition as all of you begin to right yourself somewhat, and Ingrid, you no longer have dead person feet.
You're right.
And if you look down the side, they say Brothers Grimm now.
Yeah.
I think it will be cool putting people's name on your shoes.
I like it. It's not my name. Now people will think that's my name, and then they won't be able to find me.
Yeah, if anybody introduces you as Brothers Grimm, you will know why now.
That's brilliant. So how long have you been bottling?
A couple of years now. I drifted a bit before that, but bottling has helped me to center myself.
Where did you learn bottling?
Well, I like to think that you don't choose bottling chooses you. And I found myself in the employ of a gentleman, and it was either go out and hunt in the forests for his food or be his butler, and I chose be his butler. Everything else was on the job.
I understand completely. Readers, Ingrid understands nothing.
It's interesting. I've not met many people who understand bottling, but it is very, very spiritual for me.
Yes, spiritual. When you commune with the great bottling.
There is a soul to all butlers. You are correct. That unites us all.
Like the one on my feet.
That is not the soul I was thinking of, but it seems in line with the rest of the conversation, so sure.
I like it. Thank you, Thurston, for fixing my feet.
Oh man, my face hurts.
You're very welcome. If I can help with anything else, let me know.
If I wasn't in the middle of Winter Soldier-esque psychological training, man, I'd question the word buttling.
You're busy, shut up.
Ingrid barely knows
I mean,
the
I've
word
got, like-
butler, let alone buttling.
Buttling. I, for one, think it's fucking marvelous.
I love buttling, but I have to question it.
This is the best. What a gift, honestly. Okay, so after time has passed, you've all managed to get some rest, sort of come back to yourselves somewhat, partake in the bar, huddle yourselves away from the comings and goings of the hustle and bustle of the train car. And you awake very early the next morning, possibly around 8 o'clock, as the train pulls into Harnosand, just as the working day is beginning. Von Mayer's sawmill is not hard to find as you will look around this place. It is a large, sprawling, industrial-looking city. There are, of course, houses that reach on for at least half a mile, but the actual landmarks of this city seem to be reserved to a modest church and the sawmill, which is a massive, hulking building that you find simply by following where the majority of the workers are headed and where the noise is the loudest. It's sat like a great hulking beast on the edge of the river and sort of already humming with life as people and machinery get to work. The mill is a very modern endeavor, steam powered. Possibly the first time any of you have seen this sort of industry in action. It's still very new to Sweden. With steam power and everything else, and stood outside the mill, checking a beautifully crafted pocket watch, is a very tall man, staunch countenance, very large, bussy moustache, very elegantly dressed. He seems to be looking around as though waiting for someone, and he spots all of you and sort of clocks you one by one. And as he does this, he grins massively and strides over very purposefully. He says, "Ah, hello. You seem to be persons of purpose. Strangers, would you happen to be the people to whom I sent my missive?"
Worries me that you don't know who it is that you're sending a missive to.
Well, I've never met any of you in person, you see, but I've also never seen you around here. So, as cases must go that I was expecting you today, I expect you all to be the persons who I expect you to be.
What?
Isn't that fun?
Yes.
I think perhaps we could short circuit this conversation by introducing ourselves. My name is
Probably.
Brooke.
Thurston, yes, I know of you, my good man. Fantastic. Good to see you. You look like a man of purpose. I like that. The rest of you, who might you be? Hello, Grim. I see.
I'm Father Pavel. Nice to meet you.
Dr. Aniki Kirsika, or Anki for short, Salo. And I will go up and shake his hand.
Oh, pleasure, my dear.
Sergeant Alexander Kruger.
Ah, a sergeant. Well, good. Excellent. I'm glad to see that Detective Knight has only sent his finest to deal with this situation. I am unfortunately sorry to report that we have come across a little bit of a predicament in this fair forest of ours, and I do require some assistance. But of course, that is not a question for the out of doors at the beginning of the working day. We would not like to demoralize the workers, would we? So if you would all accompany me into my office, we could discuss further.
Very well.
Then lead the way.
Good. He does sort of turn on his heel and lead you further into the sawmill.
I follow from the back and just keep an eye around everything. Just like in this office, are there guards or any kind of like people, just sort of thuggish looking dudes, like that happen to be watching us or anything? Just for general.
Logic vigilance, please, Alexander.
Ooh, that's a worry that you. Damn it! I'm not tracking anything. I don't get my bonus. Beans.
I'm not really grim.
Oh, that's a single. A single success. Hooray for me.
Success.
Hooray for Jerris, and hooray for the world.
All right, a single success. As you are shown through to the back of this building, you sort of go past the sawmill proper, past the humming machinery and the gigantic whirring metal parts, the workers milling about their daily lives, sort of dodging people as they are trying to avoid you, carrying these heavy things back and forth and these logs. You are headed away from the hustle and bustle towards an administrative building at the back that overlooks the river proper. A far more placid-looking body of water than the one you left in Uppsala. Sort of islands of frost cling to the banks of water, winding its way towards the looming dark forest that's visible just across the estuary to the north. And as you make your way into this building, Alexander, behind you, you can hear some whispered, muffled talking. It's a little too close for comfort. You turn around and you swear that you caught the word Rainmaker as they are discussing these couple of workers. And as you turn around and see them, they stop in their discussion, look at each other, look at you, turn on their heels and walk away.
Small smile as I turn and walk, slipping my bayonet down into my palm that's now under my sleeve.
Okay. As you all enter this place, it is an administrative building that's quite a large, sort of sturdy-looking thing, almost apartment block-like in a time before apartment blocks, which is all very odd. And you are led into a sort of an office on the lower floor. It's a very well-appointed room, large desk in the middle of it, well-organized with files and various pens and quills and ink. On the wall are hung various framed business contracts, all signed in triplicate, obviously. There are enough seats in front of the desk to seat you all, as August ushers you in, shuts the door behind you, and goes to sit on the other side. Sort of flops down very dramatically with a huff, clasps his hands in a steepled position, and says, "So, terrible business, I'm afraid. Terrible, terrible business. I do so dislike terrible business. But here we are. My dear friend Gottfried, you see, and his friend Niels. He went to secure a deal for me in this town called Farnstar. It's a little backwater village, but quite pleasant. A little pleasant. I actually stayed in a hunting lodge there for one summer. It was quite nice. But no, we would quite like to secure a contract with the residents there to buy up the land for industry purposes. We had quite a few people who were interested in furthering the deal, but it took a bit longer than normal. And then, of course, the tragedy is sort of, it rocked the boat a little bit. Dear Gottfried, he has never been seen since that fateful night 2 weeks ago on the night of the new moon. And my dear friend Niels, well, he came back half dressed on a horse, absolutely cut to ribbons, and stumbled in bubbling and crying and yowling about some sort of big beast with red eyes. And well, we've been trying to keep him calm, but as you can see, it's all a bit of a mess, and we need some keen minds to go and investigate.
Sorry, do you mind? I'll point at the inkwells.
Oh, help yourself.
I just start sorting them by color.
He seems very pleased by this. He says, "Oh, thank you so much. You see, I haven't had the time to sort my own office, and my dear, my own butler, he is quite busy tending to my husband at the moment. So yes, I do appreciate this."
I just start tidying up as I'm listening.
Are you saying his shirt was taken, or he was only wearing a shirt?
He was wearing his nightgown at the time, so he told us he was chased out of his room by some sort of gigantic beast that came in through the blooming window.
Where is he now?
Oh, he's just down the hall. I will introduce him to you if you would like, but please be gentle with him. He's been through quite a lot.
Yes, please.
Has anything like this happened before?
Not in my memory.
Out of curiosity, what sort of deal was it that you were hoping to get out of the situation?
Well, you see, myself, as a titan of industry in this local area, I have, of course, been offering to various townsteads and villages the opportunity to sell their land to me for quite sizable chunks of profit, upon which we will begin logging the area for industry and sort of bringing Sweden into the 19th century proper. Yes.
And in your experience, has there been any times without incidents like this, but where your deals have fallen into conflict?
Well, of course, there has been the odd kerfuffle wherein villagers don't take too kindly to industrial mines coming into town, and specifically the smaller rural areas are a little against that sort of thing. But we do find that with enough negotiation and taking into account what the villagers would like to see from their land, we can often help change their minds by offering infrastructure such as schools or hospitals or stuff such like that.
Very informative.
Is there any, beg my pardon, strong arming involved at any point?
Oh, from our end?
Yes.
Goodness, no. Goodness, no.
But does that mean that there is resistance from the others?
Well, here's the thing. It is often the case that in instances where conflict may arise, we see if we can change their mind. If not, I, of course, certainly don't want to put my people in danger. At the first sign of serious rebuttals, we do, of course, vacate and move on to the next place. There are plenty of villages, but I heard nothing from either of my men that they felt unsafe in Farnster.
Well, up until this point, there has been no necessity for you to procure any means of preventative force for the safety of your laborers.
I'm alphabetizing some files over here, and I just look over. Was there any specific word back from Farnster? Did they say anything about why they didn't want to do anything with you?
No, see, that was the interesting bit. As far as I understand it, we did have interest, but the deal simply took too long. There was a a significant breakthrough with one of the more progressive minds in the village. I believe their name was Dorothea Skit, and this young lady was of a newer generation of person in Farnster, and she was quite interested in the deal, as far as I am to understand it. But the lady who runs the mill, a Miss Marta, she was not quite as taken by it. And from what I understand, Marta Karlstrom was a little more umming and ahhing about the process, but she was in no way against it, from what I hear. She was just considering it, and in the time that she was considering it, some fell beast decided to set its claws to my people.
Can I speak to people now?
Well, do you have any more questions for me before we proceed? After we have talked to my good man, dear Niels, I will, of course, arrange a stagecoach for you to take you to Farnster. All expenses paid, of course.
Well, perhaps one thing that has come to mind, and that is in the... May all reason in other words forbid it, in the unlikely event that we perhaps find your people in a state of unhealth. What is your preferred way for us to deal with this? Would you be willing to see their remains returned?
I would appreciate that, yes.
Hopefully nothing like that has occurred, but one must always plan for the worst as to hope for the best.
You're quite right. You're quite right. As I said, they left about 2 weeks prior, and I really heard not a lot from them before then. The village is very self-sufficient, cut off from the outside world. It does have a post office, but it does require a courier to proceed on horseback to reach the village and go to and fro with messages. That does not happen particularly often. Many couriers do not like the road. Yes.
Why not? What's wrong with the road?
Oh, it is just not very pleasant. Also, the people in Farnster are apparently a little closed off to outsiders, so most couriers don't fancy it. But I will introduce you to my dear friend Niels now, if that is what you wish.
Cut back to Thurston, and he's somewhere found an apron and a feather duster and is doing the high shelves.
I'm going to grab Thurston by the feather duster and drag him along.
Has there been any other disturbances in your dealings? Is this the first time?
Yes, it is quite unusual. I've certainly never had any of my people assaulted by a great beast with red glowing eyes before. It's all a little spooky, if you ask me.
But nothing smaller, like, I don't know, like hauntings or tricks played by fairies, that sort of thing?
Oh, no, not particularly. Well, there was that one time that we thought that we were being assaulted by a poltergeist. It turns out there was just a very small child in the rafters throwing beans cans at people. All a little ridiculous.
Does happen.
It really does.
There are no local legends of large creatures with glowing eyes or forest protectors of the land, things of that nature.
Do not know. That may be something you must investigate when you get to Farnster. I
Makes
believe
sense.
you will be able to find more information there.
Makes sense.
Right, do follow me. And with that, he sort of leads you out of this office and a bit further down the corridor from August's office. As you walk down this very sort of manicured, well-crafted corridor, he sort of pauses with a hand on the door of a smaller room and just says, once again, be gentle with the poor man. He's not feeling quite himself. And with that, he pushes down on the door handle and opens inside. There's a Spartan room, a single bed, sheets are a mess. There's a chamber pot that is under the bed, and there's a skinny man of perhaps early 30s sitting on the bed, cross-legged, furiously scribbling in some sort of journal. He doesn't look up as any of you enter. He's apparently completely engrossed in his work. But as you all walk in and August shuts the door as he joins you in this room, you do notice that this man is covered in small scars and lacerations that are barely healed. Almost look like the whippings of tree branches, as though he ran very fast through a forest and was just absolutely torn to shreds by the thorn bushes. He's just scribbling in this journal. just sort of rocking back and forth slightly. So there was a big thing. It was massive. The red glowing eyes and the red eyes and the eyes and the eyes, and they looked and they saw and they saw. And he looks up all of you. What? Yes?
Good morning.
Hello.
Is it morning?
I don't know. Is it morning?
Or sometime yet.
It was night last time I looked. That's why I'm in here.
I see.
It's night all the time here.
Mm-hmm. What you drawing?
I'm writing.
What you writing?
Writing my experiences. I can't forget any of this. I must remember.
Tell me so I can know, and then we can both remember.
There was the creature, and it came at night. It came when the bells tolled. It came after the bells tolled, and it was just a great big hulking mass of fur and hate and these glowing cold red eyes, and it came out of the dark, and it had the stink of blood on its teeth, its massive jaws, and ran and I don't know why I'm still alive, but it was just the eyes, and it stank. It stank like death, and...
What time did the bells
Sorry, Kruger's
toll?
trying to find a pen and paper.
What time did the bells toll?
You now have pen and paper.
How many bells?
Like, maybe...
12 bells. I think Father Pavel wants to talk. He's doing that really annoying thing he does where he stands like behind me, just in my eye distance, and kind of goes... It's very annoying. But he wants to say
Is this something that Father Pavel would know about from my past?
Please make me a logic and... Oh, jeez. What should we make you roll for this? This is interesting. Either empathy and inspiration or logic and learning. Whatever's better for you.
Empathy and inspiration.
Right, rambling, he said red eyes, stench of death, large claws, right?
Yep.
Cool.
Hey, Thurston.
Where was this creature?
It came in through the window, and I don't know where it came from apart from that. It came in, and then it seemed to grow, and then it shrunk again, and then and I went through the window because it was in the doorway, and...
Excuse me. I put D7 instead of D6.
Hey, Thurston.
Yeah?
Does your bottling tell you anything about this situation?
Yes, you are right. I will pick Nils up and put him in a chair and make his bed.
Oh, he lets you. He's just sort of a very broken, spindly man. He weighs about the size of he weighs like a sack of flour. It's kind of sad.
Excuse me.
So I failed my first roll, and then I pushed my luck, and I got a success.
Okay. You absolutely have heard of tales of creatures that appear at the nighttime and are very large, very scary, and usually have glowing red eyes or some of that effect. You've definitely heard of this. Now, you're not entirely sure what creature it could be, but there are a few college guesses that you could make. And as you realize that it is either probably some sort of creature of transformation, perhaps, with the mention of shifting between sizes and shapes, or it is a creature linked to a specific part of a township or person that would be used as a almost a vengeance method or a bludgeoning tool to get one's way. And you can't quite remember the name of it, but you swear that long ago you remember seeing this exact thing around the church where you first picked up your robes. And as you realize this, the fear begins to grip you. And you stumble back into the wall and sort of breath catches in your chest and fend off a panic attack. Please take the frightened condition as you almost lose your grip on your mind.
Oh, so yeah, you will just sort of see me sort of stagger backwards away from the individual and just hit the wall on the far side and just sort of almost start hyperventilating.
You now have an attached doctor on your personage, checking for signs of heart attack and any other physical ailments.
I just lean in and go, you might want to take him outside in case he spooks the witness.
Right this way, Father, right this way.
As
Fetch his
you-
bottle.
It's the
As
same,
you
it's
leave.
the same.
As you leave, Father Pavel, you hear behind you, you know what it is. Leave this place before it gets you too.
Nils, could you tell me about Faster?
I didn't know much about it before I went. It was just a place that we had to go for a job. We just had to get the villagers to sell the land. That was all that we were there for. And then we got talking to the villagers, and a few of them seemed to be on side, but obviously a few of them didn't. So the deal was taking longer. And then when that thing came, I couldn't stay because I knew that it would just keep hunting it. And
Did any of the villagers, I don't know, stare at you too long or seem to be, I don't know, counting your fingers or anything strange like that?
not that I know of. I mean, they're very closed off. They don't like outsiders. There was a fair amount of staring anyway, but that's kind of par for the course with these places. We've been through many such towns, and, well, this has never happened before, and frankly, I could live 1,000 lifetimes without it happening again.
That would be impressive.
Hopefully, having mildly pacified Father Pavel by finding his favorite bottlage of red liquid, Dr. Anka would like to make her way back into the room under the assurances that, oh, he's got his best friend with him, he'll be fine.
Okay, Father Pavel, are you taking a moment with your glass of wine?
Yeah, I think I'm just going to sit with the bottle outside and just, like, shakily just continually topping up.
Okay.
I would very much more like to
That's
see his health than his liver, but the witness needs questioning.
That's an item in your inventory, isn't it? Your
It is,
your
yes.
fine alcohol, and that adds you a bonus to your inspiration, doesn't it?
Yes.
Okay, please make me an empathy inspiration roll and add your bonus as you take a moment to apply some Dutch courage to the mental wound. And back inside the room, sort of Niels is shaking and sort of fiercely wiping away tears as you question him, and he seems to be getting more and more distressed.
I wish to pet him on the head.
He doesn't seem to feel it. He doesn't react at all.
I wish to pet him a little harder and say, there, there.
Mr. Nils, perhaps we could calm down a bit. Would you like to help me clean this fall? It's very calming.
Thurston, please make me an empathy and inspiration roll. Lots of inspiration today.
Can I aid in this?
Of course you can.
Because it's the most wholesome thing that has happened the entire session. That's saying a lot involving this guy.
I would also like to help. I don't know how I can help, but I would like to help.
You will point out where he can just better.
There is another scrubber here. You scrub the fall where it is dirty.
Thurston, please add an additional 2 dice to your pool for the help of your allies.
Ooh, that gives me 2 6s in total.
Oh, fantastic. Niels sort of shakily nods and just says, okay, yeah, all right. Seems to right himself a little bit, reaches out, takes the sponge and begins to help you, sort of very determinedly cleaning as though his life depends on it.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. That spot there, that one needs some cleaning.
Okay.
You're very good at that.
This creature
Talk by
you
me,
saw,
mama. Yeah?
what did it look like?
I didn't really get a good look at it. It was just sort of one of those things, just so big and so close and so stinking that you just
When
can't
you
get
describe
a good
it as big,
huge.
do you mean it is large, or are its arms large, or is it entirely large, like giant or like a troll?
It was like just a big, furry mass, and it's just
Yeah.
hairy,
Right.
teethy, clawy, scrubby. It sort of keeps like scrubbing at the bowl.
When
He
was
goes-
this?
Time to soak in the bucket.
Okay.
Sorry, what day was this?
It was a Wednesday, I believe.
What time?
Midnight.
Midnight.
Midnight, yeah.
When he says like furry creature, you just hear from the other side of the door like, "Oh fuck," and just
Yeah.
more wines being poured.
Wait,
Yeah.
I have a question.
Father Pavel, you do manage to heal your condition, though. Ingrid, hi. Yes.
You say Wednesday. Do you mean it was Wednesday night? Midnight Wednesday night? Thus making it Thursday morning?
Sure.
Okay. Thank you. That's all.
What stage
was-
of the moon was that?
It was new moon at the time.
Let's see.
I love
Yeah,
those.
Niels, would you like to help me fold this washing?
I would, yes. And he sort of hurriedly walks over. He almost like knocks things over in his haste to help you out here. And he's very determinedly keeping his mind on the task.
Do you like to do shirts or pants better?
I like pants. I like the symmetry of them.
I am a pants man too.
Good way to be.
I have no idea what's going on here.
If it does not distract you too much, or if it will not pain you, would you allow me to examine the state of you physically? I see that you have small witnesses of body.
He does sort of look over at Thurston as if for permission.
Oh yeah, it is good.
I assure you, I'm a professional.
All right. We will resolve this roll and then make our way to break. So, Dr. Anki, if you could please make me your logic and medicine roll, please. We will-
My favorite combination.
Indeed. Please use your bonuses from your medical bag.
Ooh, my even favorite combination. Time to pavel it all. I called my shot and I missed. It's a success.
Fantastic. Good job. Yeah, you examine them and they seem to have gotten off a little bit. Well, you don't want to say that they've gotten off easy because they've clearly had a terrible time, but they have definitely gotten off easy. The worst that you can tell is sort of these horrible lacerations from what was clearly whiplash of trees whipping past them as they rode clearly on horseback away from this town. Sort of the depth of some of these lacerations could definitely not have been made simply by running. There would have to be significant momentum for the trees to have caused this sort of pain. You also notice that on his back, there is sort of a shallow raking claw mark that slashes from the top of their shoulder down to their waistline. And it seems like it was just with the tips of some very, very large claws that raked across this man's back as he fled. And it's as you sort of make this realization that Niels looks out the window and then his eyes go completely blank and he opens his mouth and he begins to howl. It is a mechanical, loud, very grating, almost mechanical noise. It sounds more like an alarm than it does any sort of creature noise. And as this begins to happen, it sort of seems to be ripping itself from his throat more than a sound he's making voluntarily. He sort of collapses to the ground, begins sort of growling and gibbering. And at this, August ushers you all out very hurriedly, slams the door behind him and says, "We will get our own physicians on that very shortly. Terribly sorry about that, but I must thank you for being gentle with him." And it is at this that we will draw our scene to a quick close as we take a quick 10 to give ourselves a little break before we have a chat with our wonderful guest here, Jamie from Level Up Dice, and give away a copy of the PDF of the core rulebook for VAESEN. So it's going to be all swell and great and fun, and we will do that in about 10 minutes. Because in the meantime, your boy's got to go get himself a coffee. Right. Love you all, and catch you all in a quick 10. Don't go anywhere.
Hi, everybody. I'm George.
And I'm Bob. We're the Shipping Goblins from Beetle and Grips. Today, we're going to talk about the amazing Map Vault Collection. And with the Map Vault Collection, you get a bunch of gorgeous two-sided maps, all scaled for standard minis.
Yeah, get yours now for the Map Vault Collection from Beetle and Grim, and all the players at your table will be revved up and hyper because the only thing they'll be able to say is...
Yeah, go ahead and do it.
Zoinks!
Yeah, do it again.
Zoinks!
Hello?
Who do you think you are?
Yes, Mr. Lillard.
You're just some color.
Yes, sir.
You can't just go off and use my
It's your
voice
thing.
like that. I have rights.
Completely. We just thought...
Wait,
okay.
I'm gonna take this right to the
yes, sir.
Beetle. Hey, Grim.
Thank you, sir.
What happened?
Matthew Lillard watches our show!
Hello again, everyone, and welcome back to the Mythic North and our story, King Hunt. We will be diving back into it very shortly as our brave, intrepid Thursday's children journey to the small town of Farnstar, searching a creature that has been mauling people in the dead of night on the back of a deal that has gone slightly wrong. But before we do any of that, we have a lovely guest with us today. We have Jamie Lawrence from Level Up Dice.
Hi.
So we're having a chat with him in a moment about Level Up Dice and what they do and how they do it and all that fun shenanigans. But before we dive into any of that, chat, we have a giveaway for you today. We have a copy of the PDF of the VAESEN core rulebook to give out to a lucky human being or VAESEN or cryptid in our lovely chat room today. So our question of the day is, what VAESEN do you think our Thursday's children are facing? Please put your answers in the chat below, and we will choose our very favorite one after we've had a chat with Jamie. Speaking of, Jamie, you work for a company called Level Up Dice. Could you tell us a little more about that?
I do. So Level Up Dice, we make dice, strangely enough, with a name like that, from materials like crystal, wood, bone, precious stones, aluminium, all sorts of really lovely luxury materials. And we've been doing it for about 5 years now. We've gotten to the stage where people bring us interesting materials and say, can you make dice out of this? And which we say, sure, we'll give it a go. And that's led to some really interesting things. Like for a while we had World War II tank armor dice, and
Tell me more.
I know people have bought us pieces of the Berlin Wall and said, can you do something with this?
Wow.
So really interesting stuff. But basically we make dice out of the most beautiful and interesting things we can find. We have a crazy internal R&D team that likes to do things like, let's fuse stones together and make a multi-stone die. Yeah, it's great fun. I get to make dice for a living. My job is I'm the production manager, so I literally all the production that goes through the company comes through me. I go out and talk to companies and say, hey, would you like some cool dice that we can customize for you? And yeah, it's great.
Awesome. You guys do like very system specific dice as well. Could you tell us a little more about that?
Yeah, we do. So we've got a license with Fantasy Flight Games. So we make Legend of the Five Rings dice out of I don't have any with me at the moment, but we've got Obsidian and we've got White Lavender Jade, Legend of the Five Rings dice. And then we also make dice for Paradox Entertainment for Vampire, the Masquerade, which are aluminium, and they have the clan symbols lasered onto them. You can get them as regular dice or hunger dice, depending on what you need to roll. And otherwise, yeah, look, we have a lot of fun. We're a bunch of gamers. We love what we do. We've got a streaming channel, Level Up TTV, which I'm on every week. I have a show where we paint minis and talk about the gaming news called Gazetteers.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, it's a wild life. I'm honestly so happy every day when I come to work because, I'm knee deep in gaming.
Aw, that's fab. Do you have a
Well.
favorite set of dice that you guys sell?
I do. I'm actually using some of them today. So these are Art Deco Indian Agate. I'll see if I can get
Ooh.
some focus on them up here.
Oh wow.
Oh wow, they're really nice.
They're
Um,
cute.
they
Those are
are.
beautiful.
Good
Hot
sir,
damn.
you're giving me the vapors.
Those are my personal favorites, but boy, there's so many to choose from. So many to choose from. We're actually we are releasing a product next month called Glyphic Blind Bags. I've got a couple down here that I can show you, which are like randomly packed D6 with different patterns in different stones. There's definitely a couple of stores pretty much everywhere. I've got customers in the UK, the US, Japan, Australia. These things are going to be out there at your FLGS, so
Great.
you can jump in and get into luxury pretty easily. And there are some beautiful dice in there.
Amazing. So, yeah, like I know me and my gaming group specifically, we love our dice, and especially anything that is like randomized or has a chance of that sort of luck element being put into the system that we love in TTRPGs being brought into the OC. Just that's part of the magic of gaming, man. So we love it.
Yeah, I love that. In chat. Oh no, randomized dice. That's my weakness.
Randomized dice. Okay, so Stacey, what have we got in terms of guesses for our VAESEN today?
I have to make sure that I unmuted all of myself because I was eating a noodle, and I'm sorry.
A whole noodle? How dare
A
you,
whole
man?
noodle. We haven't had very many answers today. We've only got 2 at the moment.
Oh,
The outrage.
oh we've got
It's,
a guarantee.
What
We
our
do have a
funnies.
question for Jamie from Baron Snowhands. If you want to give everybody just a little bit more time to give me the funniest answers they can to what VAESEN we're facing.
It's 7:45 in the morning here, so I'm still reeling at the idea of someone eating a noodle.
Jamie, has Jamie looked at some of the Scottish agate's incredible colours and a stunning pink
Ooh.
agate only found there?
Pink agate from Scotland I have seen before, and it is absolutely beautiful. It's interesting. There are a lot of stones that, when we look at dice like this, the material needed to make something like that is about twice the size, because you lose so much of it in the cutting and polishing and all the things that happen to it.
Yeah,
So it can often be tricky to get specific stones that people ask about. But I would really love to work on some anything Scottish. I love Scotland. So if anyone's got big chunks of pink agate out there, get in touch and we'll talk.
yeah, amazing. So we've got another one. The Pink Panther.
Yep.
Okay.
But
All right. Let's,
Distinct possibility.
the other options we've got are Clifford the Big Red Dog and Rumpniece.
okay.
Oh my gosh, yes!
What's
Yeah.
everyone's favourite? Honestly, they're all.
There's one
probably-
extra one that's just
Sexy female gremlin from the end of Gremlins.
Just, yep,
Oh
just
my
that
God.
sexy female gremlin from the Ender Gremlins too.
Jarrus,
Yep.
I can't choose you. You've already won.
That's fair. And he had sex with that gremlin. Let's not forget.
Oh God.
I'm kind of loving the Rumpniece. It just sounds funny, and I love Sebi's reaction to it.
Okay.
Shall I,
yep, let's
shall I
go with
disambiguate that one?
Who was the perpetrator of that nonsense?
That would be Dricolath.
Okay, Dricolath, if you could shoot a whisper to one of our mods, we will sort that out for you and be in touch with your copy of the core rulebook. Congratulations.
Could only have been
now-
better if someone had said a
Harbinger of the
sneezing
button.
duck.
A sneezing duck would have been a great answer.
Oh God. Absolutely. All right. Today on obscure Swedish things we learn. We love it.
There's at least another Swede in the audience.
It's honestly one of the part of the things of this system that I love so much. Being a non-Swede, like being able to actually delve into this, the fact that they've left so much of the original Swedish in, is just so fun, because it means that I have to have Google Translate open and go, what does this mean? Which I find amazing personally. All right, anyway, shall we dive back into our mystery? Great.
Yeah,
Paddle
sure.
towards oblivion again.
Fabulous.
We
So
got
as
time.
we come back into the scene at hand, you guys have all found yourselves outside of the office of August von Meyer, local logging tycoon and industrial star on the rise as he is beginning his expansion into the north and into the forest beyond. You have met Niels, a very haunted young man who seems to have been suffering from extreme trauma after an attack by a massive beast that he describes as hairy and red-eyed, very scary, that has given him a bit of a fright and resulted in the disappearance of his business partner. As you all stand outside this room, August von Meyer sort of ushers you along, sort of talking at a million miles an hour. You find it very hard to sort of get a word in, as this man is very clearly trying to usher you on your way. You are very quickly put into a stagecoach, sort of shoved in there, and sent on your way with the promise of reimbursement should you return with a solution to the problem. You are essentially tasked with the finding of what caused the incident regarding his two men and the banishment or scaring off or destruction of said creature if all else fails. But he has promised to double the money that you will get as a reward for this, should you be able to also settle the deal with the residents of Farnstar. Unfortunately, the journey to Farnstar is way less comfortable than the one you just embarked on. The stagecoach is more lavish than perhaps you're used to, but it does very little to keep out the biting chill of the travel as the stagecoach makes its way deeper into the woods towards the little village. The further you travel inwards, the more civilization seems like a distant dream. The houses grow smaller and older, the communities fewer and further between, and the pines grow taller and crowd closer together, hiding the conspiracy of deep forest noises that skitter and dart from cover to cover, watching you as you go. Even with the sun having risen to its highest position at noon, its light has very much trouble getting through to the forest floor as you reach Farnstar. The trees crowd in on each side as though they wish to whisper conspiracies in the denizens' ears as you go. And as the coach trundles on through the dirt road, running like a raindrop through a window through this town, you see a collection of simple, humble homes, all very much constructed out of rough wood, including a post office, a general store, and a town hall. In contrast to the town abodes, you pass a large old church, the only stone building in the area. The people of Farnstar are going about their daily lives around you, going to and fro with groceries and carts, some of them nodding to your cart and chattering curiously with their neighbors sort of behind their hands as you go by, gossiping as you pass, until a dull sound echoes out around the township. From the church's spire, you hear a dull, mournful sound ringing out from its throat, a church bell. It rings only the once. It's about noon. Could all of you please roll me empathy and observation?
Just check a watch. I'm like, that's just stupid. Can I very quickly just retroactively, just before we leave the main town, because it's a big like engineering town, right?
Yeah.
Big port.
Mm-hmm.
I'm assuming that it will have some form of ammunition or rifle place, right, for hunting or things like protection against bears and shit like that.
Yeah, you can restock.
Yeah, can I possibly, if there is even if I have to go and see a blacksmith, if we have the time, can I get some silver bullets?
Unfortunately, this is a sort of very provincial industrial town. The most you can probably get is like very sturdy pellets that are used for generalized hunting. So it'd be like steel ball bearings.
I don't have a shotgun, so never mind. Don't worry about it. I'll look into probably getting a candlestick or something I can beat someone to death with.
Okay.
Right.
There is the church.
I got one success. Also, it seems very suspicious having only one big stone church. And I don't like when people keep offering me money to do things. It is very tasteless.
You as you say this, Thurston, you sort of peer out the carriage. You do very much see that alongside the church, sort of making its way out into the forest, there is a graveyard that is about the size of the town that sprawls out around the church. It is disproportionately big. And in the middle of this graveyard is a mausoleum. Just the one. And Ingrid, you also see this. And who else got successes?
The doctor.
Okay. Everyone who got
Singular.
one success, Ingrid, you getting 2, you will also notice this. As you all look around at these villagers, they all stop. As soon as this church bell rings out, they stop in their tracks and stare at each other wide-eyed. They sort of look from the bell to you and then back up at the bell. Some of them look afraid. One woman in particular goes ghostly pale, a sort of a practically dressed woman of red curly hair and plentiful freckles. She straightens up from where she had been tending a vegetable plot outside of a very, very nice manicured house, one of the nicest houses you can see in the vicinity. She grabs the arm of a small girl who was sort of playing in the vegetable patch beside her, bears a striking resemblance to the young woman, and corrals the child inside the house before slamming the door shut behind her. And it's this scene that you see happening as you keep trundling your way by in this stagecoach, and it keeps going until it passes the last house and makes its way towards the river, stopping just in front of a sawmill that sits on the banks. The mill is yet powered by the stream, quieter than the steam-powered one you just visited, and next to it is another large ornamented wooden building, reminiscent of a kind of nice hunting lodge. Very clearly an older building in this place. It's sort of got deer skulls mounted on the walls outside, and the windows have been extremely well polished. As you sort of all emerge from this stagecoach, you can see a woman with blonde hair scraped back out of her face who leaves the house and sort of shuts the door behind her, approaching you all with a very friendly smile. Hello. Are you the party sent from August, Sir Von Mayer?
That is correct.
I see. Well, allow me to introduce myself. My name is Marta Karlstrom. I'm the head of this town, and I will be your hospitality whilst you are here. You may stay inside my own abode, and well, if you accompany me, I will show you inside if that would be appropriate. I assume you've had a rather long journey to get here.
You assume correctly.
In that case, let us not talk business on the doorstep, shall we? And she does sort of turn around and lead you inside the house. Very plush environment, very well maintained, extremely well dusted, Thurston. Everything is extremely well organized. So the tapestries on the walls have been very clearly well maintained. The wooden flooring is very well fused and well crafted. They definitely got some experts in to do this.
These people are in touch with the soul of butlery.
Marta says, yes, my butler is a very talented man, yes. She does lead you up to the first floor, where you see a very comfortable looking salon area, sort of high-backed leather seats, roaring fireplace, thick rug, nice draped curtains that flow down in sort of red velvet river as you go by, and you will make yourselves comfortable. She sits down, says, well, welcome to Farnster. I have come to understand that you've been sent by Sir August to investigate the poor man who went missing.
And the poor man who came back as well.
Yes, terrible business.
Does your village often have problems with big hairy creatures with red eyes?
Well, we have, of course, got many legends and laws around here. We are a small town, and we have been here for quite some time, so naturally, imaginations can run wild.
If you do not mind the question, how come your bell tolls, but it does not do so to show the time? Is there a certain event that we are unaware of?
No, it is you see, we, have had some issues lately with the children of the village breaking into the church. They often find their way into the bell tower and find it funny to ring the bells, even though it's obscure times of day. And so we've had several complaints from villagers being woken in the dead of night by curious little blighters making their way into places they shouldn't. Could all of you please roll me empathy observation?
All of us.
Oh, yeah. I'll make a roll for her.
Pavel.
Aw.
I have to say it. I have done a Pavel.
Oh dear. Okay, we've got two
Same.
from our dear Alexander.
I
one
am
from
very
Ingrid.
kawaii, can't you tell?
You are very kawaii, it's true.
First in it.
Okay, Ingrid, you sort of glance at her, tilt your head to one side, trying to get a measure of this person. She's very hard to read. There's sort of something about the way that she smiles. It never quite meets her eyes. Alexander, she's lying through her teeth.
Sociopaths and no sociopaths, I get it.
Smell
Was
your
it
own.
this house that we saw the child come into earlier? As we were coming into town? Was that this house?
No, that was a sort of a similarly nice sort of townhouse situation, but a little less lavish, more practical. That was in the middle of town. This is on the outskirts near the sawmill.
Did you say that this is a salon?
Yes, it's like a lovely sort of reception room area. Yeah.
You mean a salon like a fancy room, not a
Yeah.
salon like a bar?
Not a hairdresser. No,
Oh,
not a
see,
barber.
I was going to suggest that like Ingrid gets her hair sorted.
That would take more than a provincial salon. Maybe a couple, maybe
She has a knife, you know.
makes that. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, Marta sort of shakes her head. It's like, well, you see, I've also heard that perhaps you may also be here to settle Sir August's deal. Should that be the case, I'm afraid you may be wasting your time. We've almost been an autonomous village, and I certainly don't see that changing anytime soon. Still, stay as long as you like. Take in the forest air. Does wonders for one's health, I hear.
That, to my knowledge, was not our reason for coming here.
Oh, good. Then I dare say you should get along just fine.
We're simply here to try to find out what happened to the man, see if we can find him, and hopefully go about our lives in peace and let you do the same.
I think that would be for the best, yes.
You said this was a very old village.
It is.
I take it that is why you have a rather large storage for your dead.
Indeed. This village has been around since before the 16th century.
That is indeed old. If it is not too much of a personal inquiry, but seeing as we're in such a lovely place, would you mind me asking what your story is? If you are born and raised, as it were.
Yes, indeed I am. My parents grew up here, as did their parents before them and theirs before them. We have always owned this patch of land, this house. I own a significant swath of the forest as well. Yes, we have made ourselves an invaluable part of Farnster's infrastructure.
You said that it was children playing with the bells.
At least that is what the priest tells me.
Is it not an easy thing to find the children of this small, tiny little village? Is it not simply best to just speak to them all. There must not be more than, 20, 30? Corral them at their school, perhaps. Make
You
sure
would
that
be.
they are not playing with the bells. Blasphemous behavior, that is, to ring a church bell when not at the correct time or the correct person to do so.
You are quite right. And indeed, we have tried, but well, let's just say that corrective measures only go so far, and frankly, I'm not a disciplinarian. I run the sawmill.
Your bell was half an hour early.
Oh dear, how troubling.
As we came in, the bell rang and the people were almost frightened by it.
Or by
dear.
us.
Well,
I would prefer it to be the bell.
Well, Farnster is not a place that we often get visitors, so that may have been the cause for some discomfort. That should go away given time, but of course, you being outsiders, it's a little hard to judge you right off the bat.
We are good people. We are here to investigate why a man has perished and another has been driven to
Abject
madness.
lunacy.
Well, you
Lunacy.
see, come to think of it, the last person that I saw talking to either one of those two men, they were being put up by Dorothea Skit in town, you see, staying with her. But the last I saw of them, the older man, Gottfried, I believe, he went to talk to the priest at the church, and I did not see him again after that. This was possibly about an hour before midnight on the day he disappeared.
Most interesting. And well worth following up.
Yes.
I will tell
Does
you
the
something else.
priest also care for the graveyard, or is there someone else that does that out of curiosity?
The graveyard is somewhat of a communal effort. We all sort of take turns pitching in to keep the land around here. As you can tell, there is not many of us. We must all each do our bit, and so there is kind of a little bit of a shared responsibility regarding the lands of the church. There is also a sort of course, the legend about the church's guardian.
Do tell.
Well, we all know who the church's guardian is.
Somewhat, it is somewhat a little more corporeal. Yes,
Besides the priest and the Lord above.
indeed. There is a legend, of course, that has made itself known in this town of a large beast that defends the church's grounds, and I, of course, hold no stock in it, but that is what the people believe, and it's part of why it is so well maintained.
An awkward place to be, Thurston.
Yeah, I'm not sure I understand what is going on, but I'm listening and hoping that something becomes clear or needs cleaning.
How long has this church had a protector?
Certainly as long as I can remember. The rumors I remember hearing when I was a girl, sort of don't go into the graveyard by yourself at night, that sort of thing. Always pay your proper respects when you enter the church, never desecrate the house of God, do not blaspheme, all of that. It was a very good way to, well, keep the children in line, and I mean, it certainly helped to keep me in check as a girl.
Doesn't seem to be
Something
working
it's-
recently. With
No.
the bell.
Certainly not.
Well, perhaps we should take a talking to the priest to see if he can offer more wisdom with regards to the troubles of the bell, and also, more importantly, the fate of our man.
Yeah, I was thinking perhaps we should also visit the lady who he was staying with.
Dorothy.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yes, it's an interesting woman, that one. Very modern. With that, she sort of stands and dusts herself off and says, well, if you should need me, I will be at my office at the sawmill for the rest of the working day, about 3 or 4 hours or so. I will be there should you need anything. If not, I shall be here. And please do get yourself settled in. If you need anything, please do make yourself known.
A quick question, Al.
Hello.
Does the village lie next to some sort of waterway?
Yes, it is very much.
Right, you mentioned
river.
that the sawmill was
Yes.
sawmill was powered by it. Yeah.
Yeah, quite.
If you do not mind a question about the mill. Do you sell your excess lumber, or is it solely for the preservation of the village, as it were?
We do
it is ferried downriver.
We do export, yes, but usually it is used for the benefit of the residents of Farnster. We are, obviously being such a small village, we do not take much in terms of running costs. So usually that is handled with a very minimally invasive logging industry.
I can see how that could put you in a position where any expansion of the business of Hernesund and Sir August would not necessarily be a positive impact on your little village then.
Yes, we are very blessed to have extremely fertile lands and extremely healthy forests in this area. However, excessive logging would indeed damage the natural beauty that we all enjoy, and it would not be good for the forests, I believe.
Damage to the forest, damage to the land, damage to the land, damage to the people, yes?
Precisely. Now, if you do excuse me.
Of course.
And with that, she will turn to walk away. At this point, as she walks out, all of you, could you please roll logic and vigilance?
Oh, me oh my.
That's logic. There's vigilance.
Straight up Pavel.
Same. Paveled it.
I got one finally.
Hey!
Did you do what I said? Roll them as separate.
No.
I was hoping that would work for
You
you.
put the Baddens in a corner
Yeah.
as an example to the others.
You got to rest them 6-sided up. So that
Yeah,
all
power.
Train them, yeah.
I got one as well.
Okay. Everyone who got one success, as she leaves, you hear footsteps as someone joins her on the landing outside, and as these two people walk away, she sort of stops this other person, and you hear her say, "Watch them. Anything out of the ordinary, you report it directly to me." And then she walks away.
And she said that to the air or to an individual? Sorry.
She said that to a person who joined her on the landing and has apparently
Okay.
stopped just outside the door.
Is that something that the observers make publicly known to the rest of us?
will
Yeah.
once we get somewhere that's not
Yeah.
here.
Yeah,
Excellent.
that's my thought as well. Was I don't think we're being watched is probably
That
the.
Although
If I just
would
turn
perhaps
and
freak
shoot
them out.
immediately through the door.
Oh, no. We only have so many bullets, Sergeant.
I have a
Amazing.
lot of bullets. Do not worry about me. I'm good.
I'll stride out onto the landing like a big dumb guy and see if I can see anybody there.
Yeah, you see a well-dressed looking man in like a waistcoat and a tailcoat. He's sort of stood by the door. He seems to be arranging some portraiture on the wall. He's got like a dusting rag out and he's going along the tops of it.
Hello, friend. You are
Oh.
very well-dressed butler.
Hello, yes. Greetings. My name is My name is Aaron. How may I help you today?
I am Thurston. I
Thurston.
was remarking on your work. It is very good. You are doing a great job.
Thank you.
I'm sorry. I know that it is professional impropriety to compliment you, but top-notch.
Ah, well, it does mean a lot coming from someone of such discerning craft yourself, I assume. You seem to know your way about a dusting rag yourself, sir.
I have threaded boots in my time. Yeah.
Good.
Ah,
Yes, well,
I see you have found a thread, Thurston. Very well done.
it is an absolute pleasure to be hosting someone of a discerning craft.
Ingrid's just like in between these two people, just like.
So,
Just
just out of curiosity, what is the physical height disparity between Butler A and Butler B?
So, funnily enough, they're kind of the same height, but it's kind of like the muscle and fat from one has been completely siphoned from the other. Because whereas Thurston is an extremely large individual in both stature and width, in terms of his musculature, this other butler seems to be a very wiry individual. He's about 6'4"-ish and just extremely spindly. He seems to be all bones.
You must break him. I mean, no.
I refuse to believe.
So
Let
God
them
is
fight.
the best butler.
I refuse to believe that Thurston isn't Jurgen von Strangle from the Fairly Odd Parents.
That's fair.
Oh, me,
Meanwhile,
my.
Ingrid isn't very tall, so instead of just looking left to right, she's probably like,
For sure.
You're watching Sky Tennis.
Sky tennis.
Sky tennis, completely.
Well, with...
Well, it has been a pleasure to meet you, Aaron. I hope that our paths cross again.
As do I. Well, enjoy a trip to our wonderful village. I would recommend swinging by the town hall. It's one of the best places that one can get a bite to eat around here.
Oh, thank you very much. It is good to find somewhere good to eat.
You're most welcome.
Is this the time where the entire party simultaneously has an audible tummy grumble?
Yeah, it's like, whoa, it's about lunchtime. Yeah, it's actually about an hour past lunchtime at this point.
Well, that explains the nagging feeling I had in my gut. There is nothing in my gut. Lunch first, priest later. Unless the priest is having lunch, in which case business and pleasure at the same time, yes?
Amazing. Are you all headed to the town hall?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
You make your way through the village of Farnstar and quite easily find your way to the town hall. It is not hard to find. This seems to be the place of meeting for many of the residents. As you walk by, you are once again treated to the same sort of small town hospitality of people very openly talking about you, not even behind your back, just straight to your face. They make absolutely no attempt of hiding it. And you enter a sort of large, squat, two-story building. And as you approach, you can hear sort of laughter and revelry inside before you even enter. There's sort of a very warm smell of fresh baked bread and stewing meats and spilled alcohol, of other marks of revelry as you walk in. There's a bunch of villagers sort of sitting around, drinking, singing songs, playing cards. And as you all walk in, you get that classic Firefly moment of the hullabaloo all stopping and the music sort of screeching to a halt as the guy on the hurdy-gurdy stops playing and everyone sort of cranes their neck around to look at you. It's impossible not to feel completely exposed. They are clearly staring at you as the outsiders here.
With everything dead silent in the room, Thurston just strides over to the fireplace, reaches up, and straightens the deer head.
I love him. Yeah, absolutely. You do that. And somewhere amongst the throng, as you walk by, you hear like a very gravelly farmery voice, just like, oh, the new outsiders are here. Meddling never did anybody any good. Oh, no, I know it. And sort of as you're going about this, you see the wanderers begin to lose interest as you will walk in and begin to sort of integrate yourselves among the hunters. And one young man is in the corner. A couple of younger working men are challenging each other to arm wrestles. They've sort of stopped mid-arm wrestle as you all walk in. The others are sort of heartily weighing in on this, and they were laughing and hooting as these young men sort of wrestle it out. The current reigning champion seems to be a dark-haired young man with olive skin and bright eyes who poses victoriously with one foot up on the bar soil as you all walked in, and another friend sort of clips him around the back of the head as he was like mid-bluster, and he just says, what's all this then? We've got a party going on here. Let's welcome them in style, shall we? Welcome to Farnstar. And with that, sort of the revelry resumes, and the hurdy-gurdy picks up again at double the pace, and he leaps down off the stool, brushes his hands together, and walks purposefully towards you and says, so, What you doing here?
First off, getting you a drink for your victory.
Oh.
Second, introducing ourselves.
Thank you. Right, well, you first.
Well, myself, I am Anike Kirasakasalo, a doctor by trade. You can call me Anki.
Thank you.
This right here is the Right and Honorable Father Pavel,
Good
our
sir.
resident Ingrid,
Hey.
the good Sergeant Alexander Kruger. And I'm terrible with names and it hurts my soul. Thurston. That much I got.
The one with the purpose and the deer head. You know, I cannot get that thing to lie straight. It just, every day, it's like a little off to the right. Anyway, my name is Lawrence. Pleasure to meet you all. And I'm currently the reigning champion of arm wrestling. So, yeah. And he sort of turns around to his friends in the corner and goes, nah. And they all sort of roll their eyes at him as he leads you all over to the bar area and says, so, what's your poison?
A quiet corner and a mug of ale, please.
Man after my own heart.
Vodka.
Oh.
You wouldn't happen to be
Fancy
in
man.
the region where one can find some akavite?
Could give it a shot. Barman, you got any of what they said? Fancy stuff. I don't know.
Well, realistically, it's the same thing, just what you flavor it with.
Yeah, there's a sort of a older man with like a few teeth knocked out and his hair all over the place. It's very like he's sort of the 19th century equivalent of looking like he's stuck his hand in an electric socket. As he wears a heavy leather apron and pokes up from behind the bar. So, yeah, we can do that. Boss the rest of yous.
Just Doc Brown. It's
Doc Brown, the barman.
Let's stand next to this man in a thunderstorm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pavel would just sort of point at if they got something like either a tap or just at the back, a barrel. I really just something to take the edge off.
Right you are, sir, right you are. And he goes about sort of pouring all of these drinks and laying them out on the table. And sort of Lawrence looks at all of you and says, you know, we don't often get outsiders coming around here. We're sort of really out of the way. So, you know, visitors are far between. But like the last couple who came around, you're not with them, are you?
No.
What did they do?
Well, they asked too many questions for one thing.
What questions did they ask?
Oh, they wanted to know all about the local area and who owns what and who owns where and where the money is and who would be the most liable to sell or whatever. You know, corporate types. Corporate types.
Thurston is sitting in the corner, eyes closed, just breathing deeply, just looking really like he's trying to center and calm himself.
So, people come in, speaking too many questions. Not a polite thing to do.
No, definitely not. They didn't even
Not
really
what we're doing right now.
Oh, nah.
This is fine.
You guys seem fine. Well, I hope you're fine anyway. Because otherwise this is about to get really awkward if you're not. But
How
no,
awkward?
they Hey?
Hmm?
How awkward? How awkward do you want to get?
I mean,
I don't know. How easily do you want your championship of your arm wrestling taken from you?
Oh, man.
Barkeep, we need more
I reckon
drinks.
I reckon I can give you a run for your money.
No, not me. And I look at Thurston.
He looks up at you and says, I'll give it a go. I'm never one to back down from a challenge, but just don't take my arm off, yeah?
Thurston's still just breathing really deeply. But perhaps later would be better.
You're right, big man.
I have been exposed to battling and arm wrestling, and I like them both very much. And it is important I do not get too excited.
I see. Well, I'll leave you be for the time being then. Perhaps when you've had a few. Now, as for the rest of you, just keep it in mind, yeah? Those other two, making a nuisance of themselves. No one really takes kindly to it, and frankly, you seem like nice folk. I don't want to see you get run out of here.
I have a question.
What?
What questions can I not ask?
What questions can you not ask? I mean, are you here to get people to sell large tracts of land to people who want to cut down all of our lovely trees and turn it
No.
into God knows what,
No,
then
I
you're
am
fine.
A question. What time do you make it?
What? 2 p.m.
If I check my watch, is that the same time?
Seems to be about that.
Your church bell is about half an hour off.
Oh, I've got to say, I didn't notice. I've been in here for most of the day. It's my day off.
Working, I would presume, in the mill?
Yeah. Been working there since I was a boy.
Yes, that seems to be the physical description to match your profession. Now, what do you drink?
Oh, anything, me. I mean, the local's real good. Local lager if you're up for a beer.
Just for the kick of it, I'm going to pass him my untouched glass of aquavit. In honor of your victory. I can order another.
Oh, thank you.
Dicks. Not aquavit.
Aquavit.
I don't think Absolute has been invented yet.
He says, so, if you're not with those other two, and you're not here to ask stupid questions, then why are you here?
The views.
Trees.
I mean, there's
I'm
plenty
here
of
to
them.
ask sensible, logical questions.
Sensible, logical questions. Well, we like that around here, we do. But, you know, for all us being a small town and all, for us not really dealing with outsiders, we do tend to know when people aren't being straight with us.
No, I really just do like trees. So I wasn't lying. I just wasn't telling you everything.
Well, as for myself, as I cannot speak for everybody, that will be a fool's errand. I am not here to ask questions. I am hoping to answer some.
Oh?
And yes, it has to do with the disappearance of a man. But without asking, or without being particularly impolite or making anybody upset, that is my goal.
Gottfried, yeah?
I believe that rings a bell.
You know anything
Hopefully at
about
the correct
where he
time.
went? See, we don't care about the deal or any trees that are being sold or not chopped down, but we want to find missing person.
All right.
And to an extent, they're ever so slightly out of, what is the term? Common concerns, I would risk a theory. And that is, when certain people go missing, there are on occasion others that will look for them, yes, but when they are sent out by men with minds of industry and turning wheels, there is a possibility further down the line that there may be implied consequence. And that is something that is best for everybody to avoid, as I'm certain that there is no culpability on the parties herein.
I have no idea what you just said.
There's a lot of long words, but long and short of it is, those two came along. One of them, we heard a hustle and a kerfuffle middle of the night. One of them was screaming up bloody murder. The other one found the body, actually.
Where is it?
Currently, it's being held in the church. I think the priest is trying to get word from the post office to Harnessand, but I'm not sure how really well that's going.
Not
Marta
many
keeps
mail
a pretty...
carriages come through here, I imagine.
No, and Marta keeps a pretty close eye on what goes in and out of that post office and in and out of this town in general, actually. So, yeah, your best bet would be the
Poor
church.
man.
In addition to your talk with the church, we were told that all of the members of this town help with regards to the cemetery. Do you tend the cemetery along with everybody else?
Oh, yeah, I do a bit of groundskeeping every now and again. Make sure their tombstones are kept up and everything else. Make sure everything's all squared away.
Are you aware of some sort of higher being that looks after the cemetery?
Or the church, for that matter.
I
Are
believe.
people starting to look when we say that?
Yeah, he's sort of looking around and like hushing his voice as if to try and not draw attention to himself, but he's very clearly the kind of person who naturally draws attention to himself, and therefore people are paying attention to this conversation.
I'll rephrase my question. Is there anything that we should do when we enter the church grounds to make sure that we are paying the correct sort of,
Yeah.
homage,
Respect.
He sort of looks at you as if to say, "Thank God," and says, "If you just you have a kneel at the pews, say your words of respect, say aye to the priest, and just don't do anything stupid. I'm sure everything will be fine. Just treat the house of God the way a house of God should be treated."
I agree.
Yeah.
I have follow-up question. The idiots that were here before asking questions, did those questions ever get violently angry?
From their part, not really.
Has anyone in the town complained about these people violently, perhaps pushing their agenda of sell us your land and everything will go well?
Not particularly. They were very polite about it, but again, you can be as polite as you want. If you're still here badgering folk to sell their land, they're not going to take it too kindly. And there's a bit of a rift in town at the minute. A few of the landowners were tempted to go with him, and some of them were deeply opposed to that measure. So it's kind of caused a bit of a rift.
Have there been any bear or lynx or large clawed animals sightings recently?
Well, now that you mention it, it was I was out hunting the other day, right?
Where are you now?
Yeah, and there was well, I was out a bit later than usual. Work had finished late, but I still needed to get supper in, so as usual, I took up my bow and walked out into the forest, try and bag me some dinner. And then there was by the church these red glowing eyes. Yeah, on the graveyard. I didn't go anywhere near it because you wouldn't. That's just daft. But no,
How
it's
long ago was this?
maybe 2.5 weeks back.
Do you remember what the moon was like?
Coming up on the new moon.
Is
I'm
there
pretty
any,
sure I know what this is.
I don't want to. Good night.
What was that, big man?
Is there anything in the local, I don't know, history stories about things with glowing red eyes? Is it a common occurrence?
We're not really supposed to talk about it.
I see.
I'm not really supposed to talk about it either, but here we are.
Make me a empathy manipulation roll.
I want to help by looking incredibly interested.
Okay, everyone who's helping, please add an additional dice to the
I
roll.
wish to assist by giving him another drink.
Okay, so
Yeah.
that's 2 additional dice.
I got 2 6s.
2 6s. He sort of goes, follow me. Just come quickly, right? He's like, well, I have come by a recent and very exciting import from my friends in the town nearby of cigars, and I would just love to show you. I want to check if they're legit. You guys seem like you know that sort of thing. Let's step outside, shall we? And he very
I like a good cigar.
Good.
Cigar!
Awesome.
Cigar!
very deftly ushers you out of the tavern and sort of ducks into an alleyway beside this inn, this town hall, and the rest of the township. Sort of looks around furtively and says, all right, listen.
Hold on.
What?
Can I look for Mr. Butler Man, who may or may not be following us?
Of course you can. Please roll me logic and vigilance. I believe that's the roll. It is. I was right. Haha.
Yeah.
Damn it! I don't think I can use Bloodhound for this.
What does Bloodhound do?
It's +2 vigilance, but it's when I'm hunting something. So probably...
yeah, not quite.
That's fine. That is fine. 2 successes.
Hey, yeah, you look around, and sure enough, there is a looming, stalking figure that's about 20 feet back. He seems to be just sort of under the guise of rearranging or looking at some fruits in front of the general store in sort of the outside baskets, but he's following you, and you know a tail when you see one.
Please bring me.
See, there's 2 things I can do. Either I alert him, which means he'll double down on being stealthy, or I don't tell him, and he'll be as shit as he is now. But he is still following us. But he's 20 feet away, so reasonably speaking, I just turn around and go, speak very quietly.
Looks around, looks in the direction you're looking very briefly, and then goes, yeah, all right. All right.
You know what? I got this.
Oh, no.
I'll stroll back over to the market and
I'm following.
Yeah, sure. You easily make your way over. Yeah, he's like sort of looking, examining like an apple, maybe.
I will. You like apples? I like apples too. It is uncanny. Tell me, what is your favorite kind of apple?
This man sort of looks very shocked for a moment and says, Thurston, good to see you. And, well, I suppose the sort of big red rosy ones, probably.
Yeah, the rosy ones, they are good. Have you tried the green ones? They are amazing.
Not bad, for sure. There's a good in a pie is the green apple.
Yeah. And, do you know, I also like an orange.
That's very exotic of you.
Yeah, I have strange tastes sometimes when it comes to fruit, you know. There is also like I can get into an apricot sometimes. That is a thing, but they're furry, which is strange.
It is. It's very odd. I've actually not seen one before.
Oh, have you not?
No.
Well, look, we will borrow paper. I will draw you one. Come over here.
Ingrid is loving this conversation.
Yeah, for sure. You sort of usher him away. He like looks back over at the group for a moment, but then lets himself be ushered off. He realizes there's absolutely no way he's winning a contest of physical strength against you.
He's well and truly the greatest person I've ever seen.
Yeah, Lawrence is watching this kind of like agape. It's just like, that was incredible.
It worked. Wow. Now quickly speak.
Okay, so there was it's been there ever since I was a kid, and I think it's been here really since a few generations now. I don't know if it's been here since the start of the village, but there's always been rumors of a beast that protects the church.
Mm-hmm.
It's a big hulking thing.
Mm-hmm.
Black fur, red eyes, the whole shebang. Very spooky. But apparently it guards the church grounds, which is why everyone's so shit scared to go anywhere near it with any sort of bad will. No one dares to say anything against Marta or the priest or like anyone really in town whilst they're in that place, just in case. Just listen. We want to get out of here, okay? This deal, this could be our way out.
It could indeed.
Some of us don't want to be here anymore. Marta's a control freak. The elders are fucking nuts. Some of us just want to live.
Marta is the sawmill owner, yes?
Yeah.
Lies through their teeth.
Constantly.
Elle, can I make some sort of roll, because I have a feeling about the mausoleum that maybe I can have a roll about.
Of course you can.
Maybe
what
linked to
specifically-
this particular critter.
What specifically are you trying to ascertain about the mausoleum?
Okay, so necessarily this is a creature that protects the church.
Yeah.
Do I vaguely know what that is? If I were to think back to training and ideas behind that. Okay.
Yeah.
So
you know
arguably,
what he's talking about.
yeah, the mausoleum might be what we're after to potentially get rid of it.
Okay. Please make me a logic and let's say logic and whichever of your logic stats is better. All of them work, but all of them will give you slightly different results.
Gonna go with investigation
Okay.
because that one, it could have been learning, but I don't really have any learning, and
Yeah, of
vigilance is a bit but really I'm investigating. So let's go 1, 2, better not sue. Oh, thank God. I thought I straight palled it. Or one success.
One success. You sort of glance over at the mausoleum, and you can sort of just get a view on it from where you're standing. It's not a very big town, obviously. So, sort of standing in the middle of the village, you can get a view on everything, including this mausoleum. You know you would probably need to get closer to ascertain if it contains what you're after. But
to lead my questioning, basically. I just wanted to know if that's where my mind was going.
But there is every chance, yes. You are aware, however, that it is usually the case that a church grim is buried within the walls of a church itself.
Yes, fair enough. Okay.
Ingrid, did you know that an avocado is a fruit too?
I said, I have
it is-
no idea what that
You
avocado
put it in
is.
a salad like a tomato. Tomato is a fruit too.
But that would make...
Have seen such delights the world has not seen in
That would make
1819.
sense. That
Yeah,
would make sense
Aaron
for
is
a
kind
fruit
of
salad.
looking between the two of you, just confused, but he's like politely paying attention. And she actually seems genuinely intrigued by what's going on, but also is like aware he has a job to do, you know?
You have been astonishingly helpful, young sir.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
should this matter be resolved amicably for all parties, should you so desire, mine will be the first signature on whatever letter of recommendation you desire.
Thank you. Just be careful, all right? It seems to me that you lot being here and doing what you're doing, it could be the out for a lot of us. So don't fuck it up.
We try not to.
We should
Okay.
try.
All right, cool. And between you and me, the priest's not a bad guy. But he's gotten caught up with Martha's nonsense. So keep that in mind if you talk to him.
I'm glad you said that. Just a last question before we go. The mausoleum in the graveyard. What is buried there? It is the only one of great standing. I'm assuming it is someone important.
You know, don't actually know.
Okay.
I remember
It's
asking
something.
about it as a kid and just got vague answers. Got told town elders at one point. Got told the founders of the town another time. Another time I just got a clip round the ear and told to go on my way. So, you know, anyone's guess really.
Fair enough.
All right. Well, good luck. And with that, he sort of very furtively looks around and disappears further into the alleyway, pulling his coat tighter about him as he goes.
I'll turn to Abel and say maybe the priest will know more about what is actually in the mausoleum. If he will tell us.
No, I may not be most of the people person out of anybody. But you seem to have some rather pointed questions, Sergeant.
Mm-hmm.
Thurston, can you please tell me more about these pineapples?
I don't know a lot about pineapples, but I know they are decorative. You use them to show off wealth in a lot of places. But but the interesting thing here is the limes. You know, if you dry a lime in the sun and then rub it onto your scalp when you have dry scalp, it is very good. It clears it up very quickly.
I actually do know that if you put a pineapple outside of your house, it means that there is a brothel.
Where
Pines
did you
do
put-
not grow apples, they grow pine cones. You stupid people.
Hi, everybody. Hey, have you all met Aaron? Aaron is great, and he likes red apples.
This is good.
And pie.
Yes, we met not half an hour ago, just before we went to eat.
I wasn't sure if you noticed him before, but I like him very much. He is a good guy.
I like you too, Thurston.
This is
Having
Yes.
a quick sojourn to the market before dinner time, I'm assuming for your charges.
Well, for the lady herself, actually, she often partakes in a quick snack whilst she is working before she heads off for the evening. So that is about time for me to deliver that to her before committing to the rest of my duties for the evening.
Well, you should definitely run to your mistress then.
Yeah, we
Quite
wouldn't
agreed.
want to hold you, much as this is a fascinating conversation.
Thank you all the same for it. Right, well, yes, I will be on my way, quite right. And he does sort of go towards Staffles again, hurriedly pay the grocer who's like been watching all of this with like a sort of expression on their face. Has no idea what's going on, doesn't understand half the words coming out of your mouth, but it's just like part intrigued and part horrified that it's happening. It's like a car crash he can't look away from as Aaron makes his way back towards Marta's house, and you are once again left to your devices in the street.
I buy 10 apples, and I give all of them to Thurston except for one.
Big old
Great.
bushel.
Bushel
Dr.
apple.
Anki, you had question.
I think we can take that on the way now that the man is tending to his proper duties.
So where are
Thank
we
you for
going?
handling the etiquette, Thurston.
No problem. It was a pleasure.
I genuinely believe that, which says a lot about you. Yes, as they start walking. Sergeant Mausoleum?
Father Pavel, when you saw this person's wounds, you panicked. When you were with your church, by any chance, did an animal happen to live nearby that would seemingly attack anyone that was blasphemous or anything of the sort? A large cat, a bear, a dog, a rooster, a horse, any of those kind of creatures.
And
There was a nun like that in the orphanage when I was growing up.
you see, like Father Pavel, you almost see like the sort of color sort of drain out of his face as you ask this, and when you say like a large dog, he sort of starts to sort of stutter, and yes, there was a large creature that lived in the surrounding areas, it would seem, that one day entered into my parish and decided to wreak havoc during a sermon.
Interesting.
Father Pavel, as you say this, you hear just behind your left ear a very quiet whisper, sort of a weird double timbre that echoes out, almost like a church bell in and of itself, but it's minusculely quiet. And it just says, "Charlatan!"
No.
What do you
No,
mean,
what?
no?
We did not say anything.
Also, I didn't think Werewolves
Um,
really cared about churches.
Nothing. Don't worry. Sorry, Alexander. Was there any reason
There
for this
is
line of
a-
questioning?
No disrespect meant. I am merely wondering if you have ever experienced a creature known as a grim hunt or grim crow or things like that nature.
It looked like a large dog, I would say, or a wolf.
Red eyes.
Yes.
Interesting. Did it come back, or was it just the once?
After that event fled, to be 100% honest.
I see.
Wait.
The Grims the Grims lurk around chapels, cathedrals, churches, things of that nature. They defend the hallow. They defend doctrine of the church's law. They attack the blasphemers, the non-believers, the charlatans, and things of that nature that may put a bad word to their religion. And this is not necessarily a specifically Christian thing. It happens with mosques, synagogues, the same things, all the places of worship, specifically. But this is something that is not difficult to defeat, or rather remove. The mausoleum, I was wondering about if it is on hallowed ground, could technically count. If there is the beast there, potentially we could burn it and remove it, but more questioning may be necessary first. There is a possibility that it is.
I mean, you're saying that my parishioners were sinners, but aren't we all sinners?
Perhaps there was just someone inside. Perhaps someone had cursed the building to be fallow ground. It is
true.
Definitely not something I'm aiming a question at you, by all means. We are. The problem being is that the Grim can definitely be mistaken for certain creatures. It could just be a lynx. It could just be. It could even be different kind of creature entirely. It could be a shape. As it says, they saw it change shape, so that could be something completely different. It could be.
Personally, I think perhaps you are wrong. Mostly because if you're not wrong, then I was wrong, and that's impossible.
What is it that you were thinking it was?
Well, it's clearly werewolf, right?
Is a possibility that
Especially
could.
Since, our friend who's very sick was being all like,
It's true. I've never experienced someone dealing with that. So it is possible it is a werewolf. Especially with the shape changing in different sizes, but the moon does not link up necessarily.
Werewolf?
Could all of you please make me logic and
werewolf, bargest, rugru. What is best terminology for it? Man that becomes dog.
Lycanthrope.
That one. Thank
So
you.
it is something over there, Wolf.
now it's werewolf.
Call them doggo boys.
There is werewolf. There are wyverns. There are
Wherefore,
There is also a voice in the sky telling me to roll Matharox.
there is. Could you please roll logic and vigilance?
Straight.
You have to bring up the supernatural with Anki, like.
I don't want to say this, but it is 5 minutes to 12. I don't know
Don't
if
worry,
you...
we will be. No,
Okay,
I'm aware.
I thought you were very engrossed.
Oh, we are.
Well, most of the math are rolling.
Lovely kawaii time.
You know what?
Ingrid is very...
Condition me. I wish to reroll.
Okay, we will hold on to that for a moment. I will say for this, we will not push simply because we are fine on time.
Then no.
Okay, so for those of you who one, two, just Alexander with 2 and Father Pavel with 1. Okay, the both of you, Father Pavel and Alexander, you cast your eyes up to the sky, and then make eye contact with each other as both of you realize, with a dawning sense of perhaps trepidation, that tonight is indeed the full moon. And as this occurs to you, you hear somewhere deep in the forest to the north a deep, loud, baying howl. that echoes its way across the landscape and tears its way around the town, and it hums in the throat of the hanging bell like a war cry. And that is where we will leave our session of King Hunt for the day. Thank you so much for playing, everyone. It has been a delight to have you all run through this little system with me. Thank you so much, Jamie, for joining us. We will be joined once again by Jamie next week. Where we will continue this mystery of what is rampaging through the small town of Farnstar. Very excited. It's going to be great. Thank you, as always, to our wonderful supporters, Free League. We love you. And see you all next week. Same back time, same back channel. Thank you all for listening and watching and hanging out with us. We appreciate you all.
Love faces.
It wasn't over there, Wolf.